fine. And guess what, you guys? I was looking through my stuff. Luckily, somebody had asked me about a book over there on our platform, and I went into my other Google Drive to look for it. And when I go in the other, because I got like 2 or 3 Google Drives, because I'm always reading books. I'm always getting PDFs and books. I read books that's 100 years old sometime. Oh, good. I was on Patreon today studying. Okay. All right, California for four. We're gonna go over some stuff that I've already posted over there. So we're gonna be talking about hoodoo Bible magic. We have several books over there about hoodoo Bible magic. Again, I'm covering it again. Okay. Hi, Africa, no hyphen 3432. So my Patreon members, you get a chance to look at that again. But guess what? When I went in and I looked at my other Google Drive, you guys, I found out that I do have a book on Obia. That tripped me out. I have a book on Obia. I I don't know if I read the book, so I need to go through it again. I'm gonna go through that book again, and I'll do a live book review on the book because I didn't even know I had it in there, but I'm gonna post it on Patreon first before I do that live book review because it wouldn't be fair to them that if I did it on YouTube here first. But you guys will get that exclusive breakdown and lecture in our community, and then I'll come here to my TikTok and my YouTube family, and then we'll do a book review, and then I refer you to the book. Okay. I didn't even know I had that. I was just like, what? I got that? You know, what did you miss? African no hyphen 3432. Okay. I'm excited. So you will get I will be dropping a book, but see again when what I've noticed about these books, because guys, I've been doing this for a long time, and those of you in my community, you know, because you get books that's 100 years old or older. I go all the way back. I look at new books on up to the old books, and then I show you the consistency of, you know, in the topic, what to take away and how we use it in hoodoo. So we go through, so many old books. I mean, we do, we really do. And so I don't know how I missed that book. I didn't even know I had that book. But again, when they're talking about Obia, they're not going to be able to really go into practices and rituals and things like that. Uh, but they're going to talk about really how prominent it was, and the impact it had during its era. So, you know, so I'm gonna take a look at it and see if we can take anything away from it. But like I said, it is good to look at the history. And when you're looking at Elbia as well, you're looking at the mother of all the religions, all the ATRs. You're looking at the mother of all the ATRs when you look at Obia, because it's matrilineal. Again, this is all second. That is like the first form of ancestral magic that was in our bloodline. So when you're seeing all the ATRs, you're seeing elements of Obia as well, and it encompasses all religions, um, and all the mysteries and occult knowledge. It encompasses all of that. So we will go over it. When you say you have the book, my what was shock of what you having a book on Obia, and will you be posting the book with the lecture, or will we need to purchase it? No, you're gonna get the book. I have the book. You're going to get the free PDF book, and we're going to do a whole lecture over there on our platform. And then after I post it over there, we'll come over here, and then I'll do a book review on it. But it's probably going to be sometime. I don't know when I'm going to do this, because I want to, because you guys have some more stuff to cover over there. You're covering so much over there, so it'll probably be sometime next month before we have you get it. The beginning of next month, you'll get the book. I promise. And I'll do the lecture, and then we'll come over here, and then we'll do a book review, live stream book review after I've covered it over there. If y'all have any questions, you can bring them over here. Hi, Bright Morning Star. Hello, hello, TikTok family. Hello, hello, YouTube family. Welcome. Greetings and gratitude to all of you. Thank you for joining the live stream. Okay, and today we're going to be talking about hoodoo Bible magic, because that is what we have covered. That's what we're covering over there now. And so you guys should have gotten a copy of your PDF, and that's just the first guidebook or a PDF book that you have get were given on Hoodoo Bible Magic. You should have about 4 or 5 books on Bible Magic. You should have about 4 or 5 books. I covered that thoroughly as much as I can and gave you plenty of resources. So there's plenty of resources on Bible magic, especially when it relates to conjure and root work and things like that, any type of spiritual work. So you have plenty of resources over there. You have about 4 or 5 books, for sure. Okay. And I think I'm gonna post that another one of the Hoodoo Bible magic books that was written by who was it written by? The Hoodoo Bible Magic book, The Sacred Secrets of Scriptural Sorcery. That's why I tell you, I said this is, y'all know y'all don't like these words, but that's what we're doing. We're doing sorcery, doing necromancy. That's what they was doing in the Bible, sorcery and necromancy. Okay, they call it by these other names, miracles, but it's the same thing. Okay, this book is by Miss Michelle and Professor Charles Porterfield. So we have that book on our platform, but you're welcome to purchase that book as well. And it's called Hoodoo Bible Magic: Sacred Secrets of Scriptural Sorcery by Miss Michelle or Michaela. I could be pronouncing it wrong, and Professor Charles Porterfield. So that's a really good book. But like I say, when you're getting these books and I'm referring them to you, and what I've noticed about these books is when you get these books, you only get a snippet because you don't understand the esoteric and occult meaning. So that's why I go in and we talk about Agrippa and we talk about the I might pronounce this wrong, y'all, the Kapalon. We talk the I hope I'm pronouncing it right. God help me. Uh but we look at the other occult books. We talk about Mosaic magic. We talk about Solomonic magic, so you can understand more about the scripture. Because again, and about that Bible, because it's a esoteric mystery book. That's what it is. That's what it's coded in. And so when we go through the look at the Bible from the Hoodoo perspective, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the mysteries and the esoteric occult meaning in the Bible. So let me go ahead and we're gonna go over some topics that the Kabbalah yeah, you know I'm trying to pronounce it. Look at African no hyphen. Yeah. Hey Miss Penny, let me get somewhere and sit down and get my hoodoo lesson. Okay, go ahead and get it now. Go ahead and get it. I just enjoy y'all so much. And so we're gonna really look at the Bible from again an esoteric hoodoo perspective. And I know a lot of us we got Christian trauma, we got religion trauma, but honey, our ancestors did too, and they turned that book into power. Now we just went into that, honey, looking at our other lecture over there, and I was kind of showing them where the ancestors put power in that Bible. I'm not making this up. Okay, you know what that thing went, and then when we start using it, put power in it, then they want to call it evil when you was getting them in order and putting them on their back. Oh, you evil. That's evil. That's evil. You know, even some of our own folks was doing that to us. So, no, we making it work. You said eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Did you say that? Ain't that what your Bible said? We're gonna make it do what it do. And we made it. We made them see. Since you talking about it, be about it. Okay. We ain't got to put our hands on you. Okay. So that's what that's about. A lot of people don't want to see that, you know what I'm saying? But that's what that was. And then when we actually used it the way we was supposed to use it, now you mad. Why you mad? Because you was trying to use it on me. Oh, what scared you is I ain't put my hands on you and you still getting tore up, ain't you? You can't control what's happening to you. You can control our body, but you can't control our minds. That's what you can't do. That scared the hell out them folks, okay? They did that with Obia too. That scared the hell out them folks. Okay, because you don't know where how what's gonna happen to you. You can't predict that. Okay. So don't they and this is why they call your ancestor stuff evil, because it gets stuff in order. It balances the scales, baby. It ain't cause it don't work. It's cause it's because it worked very damn well. You best believe that. Okay. That's why they don't want you touching it. And they know it's in your DNA. Once you touch it, all hell might break loose. It just might. Some gonna catch a fire. You best believe that something gonna happen, something gonna move. Okay? So that's why they want to call it evil. They want to call it that. They're gonna call it, all that ugly stuff. Honey, what you doing to us is ugly. What you was doing to us is ugly. Hoodoo wasn't created out of nothing pretty. Had to have it. Because if we didn't, it couldn't keep you in line. Because you thought this was some type of play pretty. And it wasn't. We showed you real quick that it wasn't. You gonna talk about it, you better be about it. Okay? Ain't no way you gonna get somebody it didn't have no power in it. Because if it had any powers in it, you wouldn't have to put your hands on folks. You didn't put no power in it. You was trying to mind control with it. Okay? I had to get I'm sorry. Every time I talk about this and try to help you understand hoodoo, but we just cover it next month. We're covering a lot of books, a lot of authors, especially the woman who wrote Black Magic Religion and African American Conjure. What is her name? Yvonne Cherie. And she says the same thing I said. Hoodoo is more than magic. Hoodoo was saving our ancestors' life. That's what you don't understand. It was saving our life. And when the person come up here with a little fancy spell and tell you, "Oh no, baby, no," you need to go see that. It was saving their actual life. Okay, so this ain't no play pretty thing over here. What you think it is, a fly by magic type of thing. This thing was saving people's life, and I'm gonna tell you, it saved my life too. It healed my life. Your life is raggedy. You pick it up, it'll fix your life. And it was a way of life. So this ain't no play pretty what you think it is. It's just magic. No, it's a whole science. Hoodoo will fix your whole life if you let it. Okay. Hey, King German 32. What is the difference between voodoo and hoodoo? Voodoo is more set on. Somebody else asked me this. Voodoo is more. Really, and I'm gonna just tell you the truth. And a lot of people say that, and I think you're asking me that because voodoo is ancestral. Okay, don't ask me because when you asking me, I don't see no difference because it's ancestral. And if you be in hoodoo long enough, the only way to explain hoodoo is to look at the deities in voodoo when you start talking about the crossroads spirits and all that. And when you look at voodoo, voodoo is ancestral. They are deifying and making voodoo saints. So you know, and you will run into voodoo in hoodoo. So I would say it was that they tried to say that it's more religious, but I'm going to say that it's more ancestral. And that's why you see our ancestors going in there perfectly synchronized in that with saints, with Catholicism. Because I just can't because I follow the ancestors. I don't follow religions. Now these religious people will tell you it is different. But when I follow ancestors, they say it's still us. So what are you talking about? And each one of them, the ancestors in front of all of them, Ifa, all ATRs, nothing. The Because when you start following ancestors, they're gonna take you over there. They're gonna start showing you stuff. So it's in your bloodline. That's what these religious people need to understand. You can't help it if your ancestors, you know, start working with you with working with these spirits. You can't help that. So these spirits are not religious, but the people is. Okay? Because if we were in our tribal state or whatever, it wouldn't be no initiation. That would be it. Your ancestors in that, you in that, you would just be in there. It wouldn't be about no initiation. That conversation wouldn't even be about up. Because that's it, you simply there, them your folks, and that's what it is. That's all you know is your ancestors. So I think we really need to sit back because that religion thing, you're putting in a political thing when you're talking about initiation and trying to cut somebody out for the ancestors, and then we start venerating our ancestors, and they start bringing them deities up in there and showing you how to work with them perfectly. Whether you have to do it through a saint or you have to learn directly from them. I've just experienced and I've seen it. There's many people that are not initiated, in the sense that you think they are. They're following their ancestors and they're working just fine with these deities. Now I can't, and it makes some people that initiate, it makes them upset. But listening to a young lady speak, what is her name? Mambo Monique. I think that's that baby name. I can't remember her name, but I know her, she's a Mambo. She is that. And she was grew up in voodoo. And she was talking about how they make laws in voodoo. And she actually said that they were using ancestors and deifying them. And she was talking about the process and me listening to the process because I read so many mystery books. It sounded like they were creating a servitor in the image of the ancestor. That's what it sounded like. It could be different, but that is my comprehension of it. The way I was trying to understand it as much as I could when she was saying that. Now it could be different, but it certainly sounds like the process of a servitor. Okay, and I'm gonna go. We'll probably talk about Servitors next month because you definitely cover it in Solomonic magic and Mosaic magic, and so it's going to give you a lot of insight when we start covering that. Okay, we're definitely going to talk about that, but again, they're letting you know it's ancestral. Okay, it's always been ancestors. You start looking at that. Why do you think the ancestors is front and center? Because many of them we made them, for a lack of a better term, gods, saints, angels. Yeah, that's what we did. That's why ancestral veneration is so it is the focal point and the core of all our practices. Girl, you do the research, and I've been doing this for years. I read old books, new books. Look, and they all repeat the same thing. They all repeat the same thing. Ancestors, ancestors, ancestors. Ancestors gonna be front and center there. Okay. So I can't help it. I can't tell you in hoodoo you won't run into voodoo, you will. And voodoo is ancestral anyway. So why wouldn't you run into it? Because it is the core of it is ancestral. Uh you are making laws from ancestors. It's ancestral. Okay, and I can only talk about my own experience because my ancestors had Papa Legba pulling up on me. I hadn't had no altar to him. He started came up in my first ritual in the flesh, looking at him. I love that. I just heard a woman about her testimony when she talked about Ogun, how Ogun saved her. She said he pulled up in a diesel truck, fixed her car, and when she turned around, he was gone. The man was gone. There's no way he could have gone. They would have heard him in the big diesel truck. These how your ancestors pull up on you. Okay, that's how they pull up on you. And a lot of them be looking just like you, because the man I saw look just like me. But Papa Legba will change colors. He will change because he's a trickster. I've seen him in like a white man too. He came to me as a white man. I knew it was him because he was dressed in the colors. And the man was acting like him. Okay. So he's a trickster too. He can come in the form of a child. So again, knowing what you're looking at when you see it, because you'll start seeing these archetypes pop up in your everyday life. Just like with tarot, I've done tarot so much, I know when I can see some of the archetypes in my everyday life. Okay, and so again, uh, hoodoo Bible magic, and somebody, I hope that answered your question, beloved. I know in the real ATRs, they probably upset with me when I don't promote the initiation. I just can't because that's not how it's been my experience. And when you start following the ancestors, I'm just gonna tell you, telling where they gonna take you. We got Hinduism over here. We got Buddhism up in hoodoo, and I don't hear nobody ever talk about them. But that's in hoodoo. And when you start to look at some of these religions, like I'm looking at Thailand stuff now, I'm gonna probably do a video on that probably tomorrow. but they stuff look like hoodoo. I'm like, what am I looking at, ancestors? What am I looking at? What am I looking at? What is this? And they have me looking at it. And then to sit up and tell me we everywhere. Where I see now, we ain't never left. We right there in front of you. Okay? You really, it starts to make sense when you start looking at Hinduism, you start looking at Buddhism, you're gonna see your ancestors in there. I can't help that. And now it makes sense why a lot of these practitioners had many different altars with many different deities. It makes sense now. Okay? That just might happen. I can't tell you that's not gonna happen. We just talked about how Hinduism wasn't been conjured and had Hinduism look like voodoo. You hear me? You think ancestors just your family, but when you start following ancestors, they gonna tell you where they been and where they at, especially when you talking to them great mothers. See, people restricting you to family and making you think that hoodoo is isolated. Now, baby, hoodoo wide open, baby. Them ancestors don't keep no good thing from you. If you want knowledge, want wisdom, baby, follow them. And I know you want to follow people, but that's the opposite of what you should be doing. And I know it's scary that you got to follow spirit because you can't see it, but that's gonna be your best bet because people be lying. They don't know everything. They just don't. And I learned that following the ancestors. Now, had I been listening to people, I would have thought this would have never. I don't think I would have been open to this because I didn't follow people and I was following ancestors. Again, it opened me up to more wisdom and more knowledge. Okay, stop following folks and follow the land and follow your ancestors. And that's all I'm gonna teach you over there. That's all you gonna get. I'm gonna be telling you that. Okay, you need to be standing up. Them people, honey, go you look at how they created hoodoo in nowhere in the world. Them folks didn't know what they was talking about and doing. You understand me? And then they grow. That's what people afraid of about hoodoo. They wanted to stay traditional with the Christian. No, it was meant to grow. Many of our ATR spiritual practice was meant to grow and evolve because it is a science. You saw that in ancient Kemet. Okay, even though the indigenous people had perfected it, what the next generation did, they went and start putting it on walls so nobody would forget. Okay, it's still in your DNA. When you start following ancestors, stop listening to people. They gonna think you. We know dang on well that the stuff happened to us did happen to America. They say they took us all over the place. So to do that, you got to look at where they took us and how we developed our magic. Wouldn't that make sense to do that? Come on now. Don't get in hoodoo and start thinking like a religious person because it ain't that. It's not Christian. And stop trying to make it that. And when you looking at some of these spiritual practices, they let you know that a lot of that is already in your DNA. You already understand a lot of these spiritual concepts, especially when you start following your ancestors. I had to tell somebody the other day, he was talking about women kept hoodoo down, and he's another practitioner. I forgot his name. He's another long time practitioner. He was like, women held hoodoo down and all this. I said, hoodoo is matrilineal. So what are you talking? It comes directly from women. It comes from the great mother. It comes from the great mother. It comes from the great mother. So why wouldn't uh women be holding down? It come from them. We had to have something. Okay, that was all, and then we passed it on to y'all because we covered that in ancestral magic. Next month, when I sit there and show you, I've even shared it over here that it is matrilineal. Okay, so if you start, they start taking you somewhere. I can't tell you. That's the beautiful thing about following ancestors. The things somebody told you that you couldn't do, the ancestors be looking at you and say, "Yes, you can." They be tripping you out. You instead of be asking people, "Can you do this?" and they be like, "Well, that's a religion. You got to be initiated. That's a religion. You got to be initiated." You know, you hear it from them, but if you talk to the ancestors, they're not gonna tell you that. Okay, the only way really, the way I understand this, see, a lot of them grew up in it, they know it and all that. Okay, they know it and all that. So a lot of people that grow up in there, they know it and all that. Now the initiation thing, that I think that is a political type of construct. That's what me. And before you know it, the ancestors will be teaching you that. Okay. People, like I said, and it's not their fault. I'm not blaming them. I'm not bashing their ATR. I'm not doing any of that. That's the way they want to do that. That's just fine. You want to keep that like that, that's go ahead. But what I'm telling you is when we start following our ancestors and we start doing our work, our shadow work, and start refining ourselves, spirit is going to find a way to initiate you and have you working with those spirits. And when your ancestors teach you how to do it, you will do it perfectly. And it trip you out because if they were to come in and ask you, how did you learn it? They would notice that you're doing a lot of things right and they want to know how. You're gonna be doing it right if you follow them, I promise. All you gotta do is do the study and sit down somewhere and be quiet. That's all you have to do. And stop listening to folks and stop idolizing people. That's the problem right there. Ain't nobody got all the answers. The only people, only you way you gonna get the answers is through a spirit. You trying to learn from a spirit, you gonna have to follow, listen to a spirit. That's just bottom line. Because people, you know, some of them don't even realize they ain't human. You know what I'm saying? So they flawed. They really think they body. Okay? So you got to sit down and follow spirit. Okay? It don't even make no sense how you gonna follow a person, but you trying to learn more about a spirit, but you're gonna listen to a person. Now, if you find you a godparent or somebody who, and which is that's, it's not a lot of them out there. Good godparents, people that just got a good heart, gonna teach you and not try to, draw off your abilities or whatever. If you can find somebody like that, great. They got good ethics and good morale, great. But most time you can't do that because folks, sometimes they have ulterior motives. I'm not trying to bash nobody. But if you follow your ancestors and just trust it, because you got to trust your intuition too. Okay, they gonna show you. I assure you of that. I stand on that because of my experience. I stand on the ancestors. They did the same thing. They didn't have nobody teaching them how to do stuff. They had to do the same thing, follow their ancestors and get things together. Some of them nobody taught them. They had to trust the knowledge that was already in their DNA. Fast and pray. That's another one. Okay, that really really helps your chi and your conjure when you fast and pray. But yeah, a lot of them had to do that with their own ingenuity. Okay, they had to use their own DNA. Did nobody teach them sometimes. They just knew they knew how to do it. And then when they found information that confirmed that things that was going on with them, like the Moses mysteries, okay, the Mosaic occult, the Solomonic occult, it started confirming some of the knowledge that they had already in them and helping them understand it and use it better. Ask your ancestors and they will show you. They will. Okay, stop asking these folks about it. And I'm telling you now, I'm telling you. I know what you're seeing. I heard. Forget what you heard. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Now, them folks can show you some stuff, but you don't know what spirit they working with. You don't know what energy they're working with. And that's when I see somebody doing something, I always say, I wonder what spirit helping them. I just heard somebody saying witches don't always work with deities, but you working with elemental magic. So yeah, you working with spirits. Anytime you picking up fire, water, air, you're working with spirits. Okay. And I can't tell you what how your ancestors gonna lead you either, baby. I just can't. So you might run into voodoo. You might run over there and start running to Orishas. Why? Because they're ancestral. I don't know what your ancestors gonna show you. They might start showing you Hinduism. Might want you to start looking at that. They might want you to look at Buddhism. I don't know what kind of medicine it has for you, but our ancestors was looking at the medicine that these spiritual system had for us, and they're definitely in hoodoo. And I know they're only telling you about the Bible, but Hey, it's more than that. Okay, my ancestors been coming to me in my dreams since I've been listening to you, and also coming over. I know that's right, King Jargon 32. You know, okay. So again, follow your ancestors. Stop listening to people. Stop listening to people. And I know you want trying to get information. You think you're gonna get it out of people. No, you're gonna get it when you get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. That's how you're gonna get it. Turn off your TV. Get your face in a book. Stop listening to people that want to be entertained. Okay? No spirits watching. You can't fool no spirits, so just cut it out. Okay? Think of love of animals for their offspring and the need they feel to protect them. That is because they regard them as a part of themselves. Exactly. This quote from the Course in Miracles reminded me something you said last night about women. Okay? You'll always be connected to your great mother. You can't say that the magic ain't in there because I just sat up there and told you that you got it from your ancestors. So you don't tell me that you can't talk to your ancestors because it's in your blood. Okay? And I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm not gonna let you do it. Because I'm folks that told you you can't talk to your ancestors. You can. If you gotta get a pendulum or whatever, you gonna learn over there. Okay? I am not gonna let you do it. Read the Bible and fast and pray. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Everybody has different type of conjure. Everybody has different type of magic abilities. I don't know how your magic, how you gonna unlock your magic. I don't know how your ancestors gonna have you do that. Okay, and so let's jump into Bible magic. Let me stop yapping and get off my soapbox. The Bible, though revered as sacred of Word of God, is also one of the most potent, misunderstood magical texts in human history. Beneath its moral teachings and parables lie layers of esoteric wisdom, occult symbolism, and spiritual technology. The prophets, seers, and sages who authorized its passages were not mere storytellers, they were initiates of divine law, masters of spoken word, and keepers of sacred signs. So they knew how powerful, again, the word was because they knew the word, your voice created everything. So you'll see that in the Bible. Okay, you're seeing God speak again, and you are in the image of God. So when you start speaking and standing in your divine authority, and you start speaking and making declarations with these scriptures, you're creating again uh what you're trying to manifest. That's what they're looking at when they see the Bible. That's what they're looking at. They're not looking at what so much at what he's saying. Our ancestors was looking at what they were doing to confirm their what they were doing. So if God did it, I can do it. You understand me? Is that making sense? If God say eye for an eye, two for two, then I say, because I'm the creator. I'm the creator as well. So you got to understand that. If God said that, because we can stand in that authority because y'all writing in your Bible. See how you use your own stuff? We use our own stuff and whoop them with their own stuff. You said it, you put it in here. So we're going to stand on that. We're going to stand on business. Is it making sense? So when you get ready to say it, you're doing just like God do. You mimicking him. Because now you are God. See how you just embodied that? That's the power of the book if you know how to stand on it. You understand me? That's how you supposed to pick it up. Not listen to what he said, but doing what he do. That's why you had them calling Moses a country person, because for them to become country, look at themselves like that. They doing country. They doing it. So he doing the same thing they doing. So what do they call him? A country man? Jesus too. They looking at what they doing, not looking at what they saying. Is it making sense to y'all? Is it making sense to you two family? Have I lost you? Okay. For centuries, mystics, magicians, and hoodoo root workers alike have recognized the Bible not as a contradiction to magic, but as its greatest expression. Its pages record miracles, angelic communications, spell like rituals, and divine laws that reveal how spiritual power operates through the word, element, and faith. To understand Bible magic is to see the Bible as it truly is, a living grimoire of divine command and cosmic order. See how I just so now you got it. When you got it on your altar, you got it in your hand, you are God. Just like Bobby Hemming said, you are the God. He said, what did he call it? Generator, operator, and destroyer. I called it good orderly direction. But that's what he called it. Okay. So you understand that you got to look at it from another perspective. You're not reading what God say. You are becoming the God. You standing on it. He already told you. Didn't you say in your books, ye are gods? He said, go within. They telling you right there. But see, these preachers and stuff too busy yapping their mouth trying to take your damn power away. Oh, let me stop. Them rascals. And rascals ain't teaching it right. You understand me? That's why when Hoodoo was in the church, it was powerful. Okay? These rascals ain't telling you right. They ain't giving you no power. They taking extracting everything from you. Okay? And you probably getting the best Bible study. Okay? Probably the best Bible study you gonna get. Cause he gonna be huffing and puffing trying to send you to hell and stuff and telling you to try to take all your money. You seen it with your own eyes. I ain't gotta go over there with you. You already know. Shoot. And just raggedy. They just raggedy. Some of them just raggedy and they just need to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. That's what they need to do. Don't need to be sitting up talking to nobody about nothing. You don't even understand yourself. Okay. So let me go on. Now we're gonna go into the esoteric and occult nature of the Bible. The Bible is an esoteric text that conceals divine truth in story form, accessible only to those who can perceive beyond the literal. See, they teaching you this is literal. When you start seeing what these people was doing, just to cut it short, them folks is doing magic. Okay, he's got these folks is conjuring root workers up in here. That's what that is. They using roots, herbs, conjure oils, anointing oils. They using all that. Let's get real. You focus more on this literal made up fantasy. But if we was to look at it from an esoteric occult perspective, these people are doing magic up in here. What you call with magic. Y'all call it miracles and all that. Honey, that Jesus was doing necromancy and raising folks from the dead and all that. So let's just stop it with the games. The first believer in Jesus were the three magi magicians in their own right. Look, the magic in there because the magicians saw Jesus being born using astrology. And you look at the book again, it's a it's a sun book focused on the sun magic, solar magic, fighting against moon magic. Some of it, okay. I'm breaking it down for you because you're gonna thoroughly understand this. We didn't use the Bible to, the way your preacher is using it. No, we becoming the gods. See, these people go to church like what it is an old African proverb. These people go to church to meet God. When we go to church, we become gods. We ain't the same. You understand that? We welcome possession. We welcome what they call the Holy Spirit. We welcome that. We become our ancestors. We become gods. That's what I mean. In our ancestors, don't they become gods? Don't they become saints? There's a difference. We are not the same. Okay? Yeah, they can't help but talk about you in they folk magic. They got to mention you because without North American folk magic, I mean, without hoodoo and conjure, there's really no North American folk magic without you. They got to mention you. Okay. This guy, I'll call him back later. He keeps trying to call me out. I'll hit him up later. Okay. So you become God. You got to remember that. These folks don't do that. They have to come over there. You see them going over there to voodoo, going over there and eat for being initiated. Boy, I don't even like it, y'all. I don't like it. I don't like that they put them in there, but they have to go over there to get some power. They want to be around you in your church and all that to get some real, and then mimic you. You saw that lady, the pale face lady. She mimicked one of the African American preachers. I don't know if it was T.D. Jakes. She repeated everything that man said in her church. Even act like the man and everything. I said something's wrong with y'all because we're not acting like y'all in our church. We're not doing that. But you'll come over here and you want to act like that. Y'all want our soul. That's what you want. You want our soul. You want this sauce. But you can't get it. You mimic us, you go where we is. Why? Ain't nobody following you like that. It's kind of creepy, stalkish like. It's kind of stalkish like. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Okay? And I have to put that in your head, and then you sit up here and we sit up here and act like uh we ain't got all these talents. You need to look at what these folks is doing. Folks don't do you like this because you ain't nothing. They do you like this because you are, damn it, you are something. You understand me? And you sitting up here talking, I can't talk to my ancestors. Yes, you can. Them folks, believe me, you can. Okay? You already got this in you. And I got to convince you of this because these folks, and then our parents, bless their heart, then indoctrinated us with all this bull crap. Lies, lies, lies. And then some of us are scared of so hell and fire. We got gifts. We sitting up in the church, got gifts, scared to use them because they done scared us with hell. And we know dang on well we need to be over here doing root work or something, trying to help folks. And we scared to tell the people in the church because they saying that we the devil because we just know how to talk to spirits. You know what I mean? The people come to me and tell me that they didn't get into their spiritual gifts because the church told them it was the devil. And my thing is, you need to get out of that if that church can't address your spiritual gifts. The church should be able to address that, but instead you done wrote it in y'all got it in y'all dogma because it ain't in your books. You just made that up. Okay, you put it. It ain't in your Bible. You just made it up. You just determined that anybody that know can get messages from the spirit, and you see in your Bible that God is talking to people in there. But when somebody actually tell you this is going on, now they the devil. Make it make sense. Y'all need to get somewhere and sit down and stop trying to teach people something because you don't know nothing. You don't. You don't know nothing. When these people start having these experiences with spirit or something, you're gonna call them the devil, they evil, and all this type of stuff. Because you still standing in the same place. Don't go around no place that's sitting still because ain't nothing going on. Because the God we serve and the ancestors we follow is always moving. They ain't sitting still. You understand me? And that's all you gonna see. Be careful out there. I've had and then you gotta deprogram that stuff, deconstruct all this hell, fire, and all these archetypes they done put in your mind, and you so scared to do something because you scared you gonna go to hell. And our ancestors just never believed in no hell. They believed in the afterlife, but not a hell. You go look at all our indigenous cultures, we never talked about a hell. Okay. The Hebrew scriptures particularly are built on Kabbalistic and numerological structures, each letter of the Hebrew language holding a numerical value and vibrational key. The names of God, the angelic hierarchies, and the divine laws of creation all stem from the ancient spiritual mathematics. Now, when we start talking about sigils over there, and we have covered sigils and seals, you'll start looking at numbers. You'll start seeing alphabets being lined up with numbers. You will see these tables that we set up, and we start making our own sigils. So you will start seeing numbers, that what they call them. Some of these people call them now the something called Cobgifia or something like that, for Bonaccia, some kind of codes, Fibonacci codes or something like that. But anyway, you start looking at these sigils, and again, you're going to run into geometry and you're going to run into mathematics when you start looking at the sigils and seals. Geometria. Yep. Okay. Geometria. So you'll start running into that. Now, for those of you that are intrigued by mathematics, if you're intrigued by numbers, some people are talented at it. They make sigils, they come up with sigils, they work with angels really closely, and they start working with these numbers and these letters. Fibonacci. Okay. All right, Sango Sean, son. He put it in a TikTok chat. Okay. Fibonacci. Okay. And what's the name too? Secret of No, Geometra, same thing. Okay, you start looking at it, and we go over Solomonic magic. We go over Mosaic now magic, so you can see that in a lot of these books. You know, don't be upset with me, but I take you there so you can see these old books. Some of these books are 100 years old. I think the oldest one was maybe 105 years old. So I take you there so you can look at these books, and then I take you to look at the modern occult books. The information never changes. That's why I want you to see the consistency in it. Okay? Throughout the Old and New Testaments, we see the use of magical acts under the divine authority. Moses dividing the sea and turning the staff into serpents through divine word. Elijah calling fire down from heaven. That's Obia. That's Obia. Okay? Elijah calling the fire down from heaven. That's Obia. Moses dividing turning the staff into serpents through divine word. Okay, we can look at that as elemental magic and Obia as well. Because again, and what trips me out too, the Abrahamic religion is study saying they ain't getting this from, they despise Egypt, but yet everything you're doing is from Egypt. All the magic that you're using is from Egypt. All the magic that you are using comes from a matriarch culture. Now, I don't know if you ever caught that in your Bible. They telling you they can't stand these Egyptians, and they didn't put them. This how you know you some lies in the story. Somebody doing something that made an error, a typo or something. How you gonna go there and Moses learned everything from them, the magic and all that stuff, and now you don't like the people. But of course these people wouldn't be able to contact their God without Egyptian magic. Just make it make sense. This is another indication that Egypt was a matrilineal society, and I don't even think they were calling it Egypt. Okay, that's just Egypt is a newer term for it. I don't even think it was called that. Okay, they say Kemet, but I believe the name goes further than that. That's just my take on it. Elijah multiplying oil and raising the dead. That's necromancy. They're doing necromancy right there. Elijah multiplying the oil and raising the dead. That's necromancy. Kemet. Jesus healing, transmuting matter, and commanding spirits by name and authority. This is conjure, necromancy, and conjure. This is what's happening here. And then when you see somebody, church see somebody else do it, you the devil. Make it make sense, people. They see you doing what Jesus do. Now you the devil. And you ain't doing nothing but taking somebody money, hollering at them every Sunday. And maybe act like you praying for them, but some of them you don't want praying for you because you want the same spirits on them to get on you. Some of them not right. Okay. These are not mere miracles. They are acts of divine alchemy and word magic performed by those who understood the spiritual science behind the faith. Mosaic magic, the power of divine command. Very powerful magic as well. Moses, whose name means drawn out of the water, represents one of the earliest magicians of the biblical tradition. His entire ministry is a lesson of Mosaic magic, the art of using divine authority to command elements. He's using elemental magic. He's doing root work right there, controls spiritual forces. He's okay, he's conjuring and manifests divine will on earth. Moses' magic was rooted in spoken word and ritual instruction. He turned his staff into a serpent, a symbol of the Kundalini energy and divine energy in motion, and also a representation of the Great Mother. Okay. He parted the Red Sea through command, showing mastery over water. So he was doing water magic, and then he was doing air magic. It's right there in your face. All that is going on in the Bible. But they got you so mesmerized with the story, you know, that these, they got you so mesmerized with the story with these miracles, you won't entertain the fact that these people are actually doing magic right there in the Bible. Same thing, just calling about a different name. Moses doing the same thing that a cult or a mystery worker would do, or our ancestors would do. Nothing different. And then they would be calling on God as they did it. Okay, so that's how we're looking at this Bible. We're looking at these folks as country people. Now you sit down, you think about it. You think about what our ancestors did and what these folks did. Was they doing anything different? Because they was using these words in the Bible to do what they was doing. So they didn't see that they were doing anything different. Okay, they are becoming the conjure workers and root workers that's in the Bible. That's how they're doing. They're embodying it, embodying this energy and power. They are declaring it. They are becoming it. And see, them folks that gave us that Bible, they know how to do that. They just know how to use it to try to mind control somebody with their religion. But see, we weren't really messed up about the religion. We was looking at what it was saying. Okay. He performed ritual plagues to humble the powers of the Pharaoh, each plague corresponding to an element principle. Okay. So he was using the elements again to enforce these plagues. He was using these elemental spirits to do this. He received divine law on Mount Sinai, spiritual codes inscribed by fire on a stone, signifying the binding of divine law with the material form. In occult understanding, Moses was not merely a prophet, he was a high initiate of Egyptian mystery schools. He went there. He went there. Everything he learned from the matriarchs. He learned matrilineal hoodoo or, you know, Egyptian magic. Because when you go, any magic that you touch it up, it's going to be divine feminine because that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. If you don't believe it, go read some occult books. I take you right there and show it right there. They say it with their own mouth. They taking stuff from these women, and that's how the DNA is in you. Is through your mama. Your mama carry all that genetic coding. Okay. The schools who carry sacred knowledge of divine names, sigils, and invocations. The book of Exodus is thus both a liberation story and a manual of ceremonial theurgy, how humans may align the divine authority to command reality. Okay, so he was very knowledgeable about the ceremonial magic. So he knew the art of ceremonial magic. So he would have been able to do all that. Remember, we perfected all that in Kemet. And Kemet had their own form of folk magic as well. So not only were what I want to say, the political people practice a form of high magic, you still have the regular population that was again practicing folk magic. Kemet itself was immersed in magic. Okay, they letting you know that in that Bible, they think got you saying thinking that, oh, it's just miracles, honey. It's the same stuff as a wizard or a witch. Same thing. Y'all just calling it by a different name, making trying to Christianize it. But this stuff belonged to people who, again, there was a practice in high magic, ceremonial magic, the same thing. And you will miss that because they pushing their religion in there. But if you just read your Bible and not listen to that preacher and have the ancestors guide you on this, you'll get more wisdom and information out of it than speaking to somebody that's coming from the religion. Because the religion is gonna put restrictions and limitations and all that. Why? Because they want to keep you. It's a business for them. Religion is a business. Religion is a business. That's why I need my ATR people to really look at that. Why you getting people initiated and all that kind of stuff. Okay, alchemy. I'm looking in the chat. Alchemy was brought down from the heaven. The angel Uriel Zoroaster, the first person to make gold. Okay. Shaw. Yes. Okay. If Moses represents divine command through law, King Solomon embodies the divine command through wisdom and mastery. The Solomonic tradition referenced throughout the Bible and expanded upon the later mystical texts teaches how Solomon gained dominion over spiritual realm through his covenant with God. Now, they'll tell you that you evil and all that. I'm gonna just dive in there, but your dad tell you evil if you what we do in conjure, because sometimes you do work with demons over here. I'm just gonna keep it real. Okay, here this man go, he go build God's temple with demons. I'm not making this up. Now my thing is, it's two things I tell myself. I ask myself questions with this, because this is what they saying. They saying that the man had these demons. He had this ring that had somebody made him a ring with a seal on it, and it gave him the power to control these spirits. Now you don't only see him talking about this, but you see the prophet Muhammad talking about Solomon having this ring as well. So when you go and look at that story, he admits that Solomon name is spelled different, but he's telling you that Solomon, he met Solomon, Solomon had this ring. So now when I think about that, because we just having a discussion here so we can wonder and ask questions. Why in the world would you use demons to build a temple when you can have archangels do that and you already had a ring to command spirits? So why not do that? Okay. Now unless you are you not building this temple for God, or this is my other thought with that, because we get a chance to think with this when they telling us stuff, or all these demons ain't bad, and you giving us misinformation of what demons really are. Which one is it? So that's the question I had to ask myself when I saw that. I don't know if you ever ask that questions like, why in the world would he do that? If you work with God, wouldn't you just have angels build it? Why would you have demons build that? Even you building that for your so-called devil, or the demons ain't bad. Most demons are angels that fell, so the ring allowed him to control angels. Yes, why? Why would you use them? Out of all the beings, it just I just have that question. I don't know about you guys, but I've always wondered that. Okay. And then when you start looking at some of these demons, you find out all of 'em is not evil in the sense that they're saying. When then you look at them closer, they didn't deem some of your ancestors demons. How do you? So now I got to go back and think about again why you would use a demon. That's just me, you guys. And that is my what I found, my observation and review. But I certainly asked myself those questions when I saw that there. Angels, I think, have a choice. Demons rule over earthly possession. That could be it. It just didn't make no sense for. I was like, you ask for wisdom, which that was a great thing, because a lot of us want to ask for money. We think it's all about money. But Solomon having an affinity, he had to be again trained in the arts. He did not ask for that, and I think that was the wisest choice that he made. He didn't want any money. He didn't ask for gold. He asked for wisdom, and that's priceless because if you got wisdom, abundance will flow anyway. But he asked for wisdom, and because he asked for wisdom and not riches, all these spiritual knowledge was, given to him. Solomon used capture demons, Orishas, Ornias to bring Beelzebub. He also had jinns. Yep, we're gonna be going over jinns too over there. Cause when you start learning more about jinns, you be like, hmm. So we'll be going over fire spirits as well. We were talking about jinns, and jinns are fire spirits. So we'll be going over jinns as well. They have a very interesting history, especially because the Arabics have a lot to say about jinns. They came in contact in their culture. They talk about jinns a lot. Thank you, Love Hera. They talk about jinns a lot over there. And so they have the most documented, extensive knowledge when it comes to jinns. So we'll definitely be going into jinns and listening to the Arabic culture talk about their contact with Jen. So we'll be talking about that next month. We'll be going into that. We're just going deeper and talking about those subjects over there. But again, why are you doing that? It's just so interesting when you start asking yourself these questions. Why did he do that way? Okay, and then when you go into Solomonic magic, it becomes kind of like a trick because you'll get over there and start studying his magic, and he'll they'll have all these things that you have to do certain things or whatever, and you'll have to come to the realization that's impossible. The things he's telling you to get, it's impossible, because by the time you get those things, have already accumulated what you needed. So why would you even want to do that? So a lot of his magic too, it takes you some slowing down. That's what I say, you think about some of this stuff, because sometimes I don't even know what to call it. They'll lay codes and stuff in their work if you're not slowing down, taking a look at it and really thinking about what they're saying. And that's why I try to give it go in and go over some of the material with you, so that you can comprehend it better, you know. And I think because it's written so old, it takes that. Especially if it's a book 100 years old, you'll probably miss that because their writing style, it can make it a hard read. It's some books that is just plain, it's an easy read, and then you have some books, depending on what era it was written in, it'll kind of be of a hard read. That's how some of those books are. As long as you keep your end of the deal with the gin, you'll be all right. And see, we're getting ready to go into gins and stuff. And I'll be going through that with the conjure class, talking more about how to work with these spirits. But you definitely see some of them in the Goetia as well. I think some of them will be labeled as Goetic spirits, but we definitely, we covered that because our ancestors, again, they work with a lot of these elements. They did. Okay, be able to do the stuff they was doing. They were doing. They were working with spirits. I know y'all don't like the word necromancy, but that's what they was, sorcery and necromancy. They were excellent at that because that's the magic they had in their DNA. Okay, many words now have and use different meanings long ago. Yep, I believe that too because the names do change. They call them, what we're calling them now. Some of them have different meanings back then. It is what it is. Yep, secrets of no. Say it is what it is. So some of them was working with this. I told you about this girl. Her grandfather knew how to call up this big snake out the water and use the snake as a bridge to get to the other side of the land, cross over to the other side. She said her grandpa did this a couple of times where he can. Cause she said they was not on the bridge. She said it took her what in her teens to realize that they were driving on a snake. Okay, so some of our ancestors had that sort of knowledge. Names changed, but the seal didn't. Yep. Okay, so we covered genes over there for the people that are interested in conjure, and really I have to put this caution out when people say they ready for conjure. These are people that are high steppers, big steppers. They already did their work. They ready to work with spirits. Okay, you got to know what you're doing and be able to stand in that energy and not be afraid. So that's conjure. It's very different from root work. Okay, conjure, you working with a whole spirit, and we definitely have that over there. And we have a variety of books, a variety of guidelines and information on showing you how to call these spirits and work with some of them. Babel, a tower, knowledge for reason. I'm about to work with one tonight. Do you cover sigils and seals just for your informative purposes? Of course, I do. We cover all of that because our ancestors was using sigils. They were using seals in mojo bags and all of that. They were using it in candle magic. In fact, they use sigils and seals. You still see them do it. They would carve it into their candles sometimes. If they were working with a specific deity and doing work, then they would carve it in the candle. So you would see that. Okay. So yeah, we cover. I have to cover all of that. I have to cover, you know, because it's in hoodoo. Okay, I cover, and it's a science. So I have to, for you to comprehend it and to follow what our ancestors was doing. I cover it. Okay, so we do look at Solomonic magic. We do look at Mosaic magic. Okay, we do look at Jewish mysticism. And then when we look at Jewish mysticism, I have to take you all the way back to Kemet to your ancestors to show you where they got the tree from, where they got the Kabbalah tree from, where they got the tree of life from. I gotta take you back there, okay? Because they getting all that from you. So I got to take you back there and kind of show you that. And a lot of people say, Kemet ain't in hoodoo. Where do you think they got the spiritual baths from? These the same ancestors. Cut it out. Y'all act like we didn't live. Our ancestors didn't live before they was you know before they was in America. You act like these folks didn't go nowhere. You act like these folks didn't have no life before America. The only thing they knew was their Bible. Cut it out. These people had our ancestors had their ancestors, their ancestors, their ancestors. I don't know. I think when people when they come from religion, they get into hoodoo and they try to think of hoodoo like Christianity, and it's not. It's a spiritual practice. You look at hoodoo, it look like old Bill because ain't no telling what you gonna find up in there. Ain't no telling what you gonna find in our house. You might find a couple of spirits up in there. It is not like Christianity. I'm telling you, the Bible is the greatest story ever told if you know how to look at it and not be listening to nobody tell you. Okay, according to scripture, uh, yeah, according to scripture, Solomon was granted wisdom above all men. First Kings 4:29. and built the temple of God as both a physical sanctuary and a metaphysical gateway. His legendary seal, the six-pointed star, or the hexagram, symbolizes the union of heaven and earth, spirit and matter, and is still used in ritual magic and protective and commanding symbol. Now, what I've noticed too, when people get into Solomonic magic or high magic, most of these occult people, that's why you'll see them in the lodge. They have that lodge set up to attract certain energies. Now, most people that get into Solomonic magic or elemental magic, they have a whole room set up with sigils and stuff. I'm telling you, people, and you might get like this if you get deep in your practice in hoodoo or get you a hoodoo room or magic room. I don't know. But you got some people got rooms in there where they got sigils and stuff on the wall. Their whole altar, they may have a tablecloth with a whole seal or sigil on there because they working with, again, a different type of spirit. They're working with a specific spirit. And so now they got the elemental symbols on the wall again, calling in, conjuring in those elemental spirits or energies as well. You got people that do that. They got a whole room set up like that where they do nothing but work, ceremonial or ritual magic. And some people get like that. You might get like that. I think a lot of our ancestors got like that when they got them a whole hoodoo room. Didn't nobody go in there. They did their own stuff again because they was working with specific spirits, so they needed a whole room. And you got people like that. The deeper they get in their practice, the longer they're in their practice, they have to have a whole room where it's dedicated nothing but to spirits. And the energy again is different in their room because they're shifted into the astral realm when they go in there. It helps your magic be even stronger because now you prepare when you go in there in your room, your mind automatically shifts to it shifts to the magic uh realm, astral realm, if that's making sense to you. The whole room basically is an altar. What about the 7 day Adventist? I know the 7 day Adventist. What I see when you see about these religions, and most 7 day Adventists, they are Freemasons. They move like Freemasons. They do stuff like Freemasons. Same kind of mess, okay? They spins off of Christianity, but you will find a lot of Freemasons in the 7 day Adventists. You start looking at the Mormons and all this stuff. A lot of them are Freemasons. Their whole church it functions like Freemasonry. You look at That's my opinion. You go look at it. You tell me. They function just like Freemasonry. Okay, that again, and when we start going into that, I know you're saying I'm saying this because what I've noticed about Freemasonry, I don't want to go into this in more details and get off topic. You have these men, basically they're warlocks, they're going against the divine feminine. That's why they're in there. I'm gonna use another term. They're basically warlocks. They're there to drain people's energy. I'm just gonna tell you like it is. Okay. And then when they get up in there, they they create a god they want to serve. That's why they got all these different. You can be in a religion in there, but they already have a god in there's a sort of god in there that they are doing in their rituals. Okay, so they don't care what you really are. Okay, as long as you believe in a god, because if you can believe in a god, you can believe in the god that they have up in there. So you don't know what that is, and plus these people, they have separated themselves from the divine feminine. This is total phallic worship. This is kind of warlock behavior, uh, and turning your back on the divine feminine. Okay, because I mean, all the rituals are divine feminine. They have watered them down and put something else in there. Now, I'm not making this up. They say this in their own books. I don't have to make this up. Okay, and been shaping the course of history for thousands of years. They got to go. Yep, he got karma. So again, you have to look at that for yourself. But that's why I say that. Okay, because a lot of them are Freemasons, and they are not for the divine feminine. When you look at that. And that's just, but you make your own determination on that. That's just my opinion and what I see and where they come from. And because they got all that knowledge, this mystery knowledge, they got it from women. Yet they watered it down, okay, and then they separated themselves. It is so much controversy around that. But I advise you to look at that for yourself. You look at it and you might get something different out of it. But that's basically that's what I got out of it. Okay. The Key of Solomon, other Solomonic grimoires, though written later, draw directly from biblical descriptions of his work. Solomon commanded spirits and angels by divine names. He bound rebellious entities and made them labor for the building of the temple. He practiced ritual purification, incense offerings, consecrations as described in First Kings and Chronicles. Now we've already covered incense, working with incense over there. We've already covered working with bowls, working with containers when it comes to magic as well. And we definitely have covered this, angelic magic. We look at angelic magic because Solomon practiced angelic magic. So we look at that. And when we look at angelic magic, we look at Joseph's Levias. I'm probably not even saying the man name right. But we look at, the first person who worked with angels, John D. We look at John D. We look at their applications for calling angels and working with angels, and then you get plenty of resources and materials on helping you work with angels. Okay, and if you're in conjure, you're going to get again the information on how to work with many of the goetic spirits. Some of them, and you'll see archangels kind of fall into that uh, when we go into working with those type of spirits. Okay. Again, this is that's more of conjure like, but we definitely covered that in great detail. I don't want to get into a lot of detail here because everybody cannot work with spirits. You think you're ready for conjure and you're not. Okay, you have to work your way up to that. Hey, I won't release that kind of information uh because everybody's not ready for that. You're probably ready for root work and ancestral veneration and those type of things, but you have to be very proficient in your hoodoo and spiritual protocol before you be trying to conjure with a spirit. Okay, you should know how to cast a circle. You should know how to work with at least a mirror or a crystal ball. Before you start conjuring, knowing how to work with spirits on the astral realm or evoke them on the physical realm. But I never recommend that. I always recommend that you work with them on the astral realm and not on the physical realm. Okay. Some also put death spells on me. The person is facing karma now too. Okay. So let's go on here. He practiced his wisdom, books of Proverbs, Ecclesiastic, songs of songs, and called alchemical, astrological, numerological principles of creation and consciousness. Now you'll see in this Bible too, and I think that the Jews still do it. They'll go through there and they have a way. I don't know if y'all ever seen that, but they say it's Bible codes. They have some type of system where they'll go in and start getting codes at the Bible. Okay. And that's some type of Jewish system that they have of created. But you probably want to check that out. I found it very interesting the way they were getting codes at the Bible. Okay. My granddad was a Mason. He ran funeral home. and embalmer. He was in okay, he was an embalmer. Okay, so most of them be Freemasons now, and they're telling you that they're not doing that, you know, it's for a good cause. And but believe me, they're doing those rituals. They got to know those rituals. They're doing ceremonies together. They're doing rituals and ceremonies together in there. That's the reason they're not gonna tell you that because they can't divulge that to you. But that's what they're doing in there. That's why it ain't no windows in there. And that's why it's set up the way it's set up. Okay, so is it my bloodline? My grandma. When they become Freemasons, I would say take a look at your family because their allegiance is to the lodge. And so the things that they are saying, it puts their generation and it puts their family in harm's way. Because when they begin to call these curses or take this oath, not only are they calling them upon themselves, but they're cursing their bloodline as well. Now the oath may not even affect them. Their wife may get cancer. They might start being promiscuous, cheating. This how these spirits deal with them. I can't go into this more because it's going to sound vague because I don't want to go into this in detail because to go into this, it'll take me into something else. So what happens because they're doing this, you'll start seeing these spirits start to wreak havoc in their family, and they may not understand how spirits operate. I don't know if they go that deep with it because a lot of them go in there blind. But again, you'll start seeing some disrest or distress in the family. Okay, you'll start seeing these folks start getting sick and stuff. And see, and I think that's too what's going on in the church. These people they go into church and this preacher is up there preaching, and a lot of them is getting sick. They putting their money in that church, but their life is getting worse and worse. Again, again these people they take on these energies. And I know they probably think they're not doing anything, but that's doing you these words. Words are power. We already know that in conjure. Okay. And so you sitting up saying that stuff, not only are you saying it to yourself, again, you're making your whole generation take that oath, take on that oath with you. Why are you doing that? Can you explain that if people do black magic to chosen ones, they will face karma for doing that? Help me. Okay, I see. Help me, I see stuff. Huh. Okay, I know how to answer each one of them. What about the Brotherhood of Plumbers? I've never heard of that. I don't know what that is. Think of love. Okay, I don't know what that is. Autumn J, A15, the Brotherhood of Plumbers. Give me more insight on that. I don't know what that is. Can you explain people the chosen ones? That word has been, chosen one. It's starting to get new agey a little bit. But let me give you a breakdown. Is when a person is protected and they are anointed. It just ain't gonna work. Okay. If a person is just covered, you're not gonna certain things you're not gonna be able to do to them. Okay. And it will backfire. If you don't have your stuff ain't even in order. These people ain't did nothing to you, but you trying to do something to them. So it could backfire on you if they have good protection around them and they are anointed. It ain't gonna do nothing but backfire. Lots of it backfire. I saw that happen. For instance, I was at work and these ladies did not like me. And I've had that problem on a lot of jobs, but I already knew that I got a aura about me that some people like and that some people they just don't get it. They just got it out for me. And so I was working at this job, and this guy liked me. I didn't like him, but he liked me. And all the ladies up there, they liked him, but he didn't like them. He was liking me. And I didn't like him because the man was married. I didn't want that man. And so the man kept pursuing me, and everybody saw him pursuing me. And so a lot of the women that were upset, and a lot of them didn't look like me. They were pale faced women. A lot of pale faced women liked him. And of course he looked like me, but he was of a lighter skin. You would almost think if you looked at him, he looked kind of like uh he could kind of look. He was a light skinned. It maybe looked more like Spanish. If you looked at him, but he was a black man. And so these women had it out for me, and they would do little stuff to me. And this one woman, she pulled in my bus parking spot. And after we said, "Don't do that because you cause accidents when you park in people's spot." I didn't say anything when she did it, but she knew she did it because she had a little smirk on her face when I went into office to sign some paperwork. She had a smirk on her face. And that's when I said, "Oh, she doing this intentionally. She's trying to be hateful." Oh, and I was on the phone talking to my mom about what had just happened. I was walking back up to my bus. And so she comes out behind me walking to talking. Now she want to move her bus now that I'm finna get ready to go. Just being hateful. You parked in my spot, but now that I'm getting ready to go, now you gonna move your bus. And so I'm telling my mom about it, and I get on my bus, and I'm putting on my seatbelt. I look back in my rearview mirror. This woman fell down and sprained her ankle. Was nothing out there. The woman couldn't drive that bus for 2 weeks because her foot was messed up. And I was telling my mom, I started to go help her, and some said, "No, you ain't. You gonna sit right there on that bus." And I was telling my mom about it. She said, "You better not, because what happened is the angel of the Lord knocked her on her ass, and that's what she get." My mom said just like that, because you ain't did nothing to her. But that's what happens when you mess with folks and they ain't bothering you. And that woman was off work for 2 weeks. So you watch who you're bothering, because some people are protected. They are. I've heard many of stories. This woman, she was working at this shelter, and it was in a bad neighborhood, and it was a whole bunch of ruckus going on. And somebody came to the door, and it was these guys. They look rough around the edges, but she had been praying. She had a relationship with the angels, and so she opened that door, and she opened the door to answer the door. And when she opened the door, they started running. She didn't know why they was running until later somebody explained to her, who was that 7 foot tall man standing behind you when you opened the door. She said, "There was no one here with me." They said, "Yes, it was. It was a big old man. We could barely see him because he was that high. We saw his body though. Somebody was with you." Okay. So, if somebody's protected like that, if somebody praying for them, and then they got a relationship, a spiritual life, and these spirits are protecting them, it's just certain things you ain't gonna be able to do to people. Okay, I've heard stories of people being followed by somebody. That even happened to me. Somebody was messing with me. This guy was following me, and I was scared or whatever. Then all of a sudden, this white dog out of nowhere started walking with me. Didn't bother me or nothing, but the man went away. But the dog kept walking with me. Okay, so you'll have protectors like that. It just know, if somebody's covered and they have a spiritual relationship and they doing their protection work, and they have a committed devotional relationship with the spiritual world, it's some things you're not going to be able to do, especially if they got a strong aura. Okay, hey Miss Penny, hey baby, hey TK. Okay, so again, it can backfire on you. Stuff can backfire depending on how dedicated they are in their spiritual life. Okay, I hope that answered your question. But I do think this word "chosen one" is being coined. It's starting to feel new agey now. It's starting to feel a little bit new age. So I want, I think we should be careful with that word too. Solomonic magic represents the high art of theurgy, working with divine intelligence to manifest order, healing, and wisdom. In Hoodoo conjure tradition, Solomon is invoked for spiritual mastery and wisdom. So our ancestors have made him a person. He's a conjure man. So you best believe in our ancestors' mind, they probably learned a lot of stuff from this archetype. It's an archetype now, so now they can work with it. Okay. So again, the Solomon seal root, because you'll have the Solomon seal root. They said it's being used with Psalm 72, Psalms 111, in root work. Okay. And again, the thing I wanted to talk about with these Psalms, we have some Psalms that are staples that we always use. And then you'll find some that don't resonate with you. Some scriptures don't resonate with you. I can't express enough the importance of using scriptures that resonate with your work and resonate with you, because you have to be able to feel the words that's coming out your mouth. Not just to say them, but to feel them. That's important, because that's moving the magic along. You're activating the words when you can feel them. Does that make sense? But if you can't feel the words, you're going to have a hard time getting it going. And so just because somebody telling you to read that scripture, you might read that scripture and don't get that what they're saying. But you might find another scripture and you get what it's saying. You can feel it and everything. That's what you need to use. That's why I don't advise people. I'll give you the book of Psalms and you will get recommendations of what they can be used for. But you're gonna always hear me say, if you can't feel the words, find something else. Find something else in there that you can use, that you can feel to move your work along, because the feeling is going to activate the words and move it along. Okay, and that's why I can't interpret the scripture for you, because you may not see that scripture the way I see that scripture. That's why preachers don't need to be having a discussion. Instead of telling people what it means, you need to ask them, what do you think it means? And you might get 4 or 5 different meanings and help you look at that scripture from 4 or 5 different perspectives. So you shouldn't be telling people, how I can, because you messing with people's mind, telling them what to think when you're doing this. And we definitely don't want to be messing with nobody's minds and spirits. We done had enough people brainwashing us. We don't need to do no more of that. Okay. Only you need to be able to, if somebody give you, if it don't find something else. That's why I say you can't follow everybody's spell to a T, because what that spell mean for them, that work mean for them, who's showing them how to do that work may not be there for you. That's why you don't need to be picking up other people's stuff. You know. Okay. You need to have your own stuff. It's your own magic, because what something mean for them, you may not even feel that magic. You might read that and don't feel nothing. Okay. Is you got to be able to feel something. All your senses got to be in there. They say I'm doing hoodoo. Okay, so that's important. So just because somebody giving you a scripture, and if that don't resonate with you, you don't see that in there. Because I've seen somebody give me something, and I said that this don't look like nothing to go with their work. I don't see why you would use this scripture with this work. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. I'm going to use this scripture. I'm going over here because I can feel this and feel this. That I look at this scripture and I can't make sense of none in this scripture here. And you'll have that sometime. That's absolutely fine. Find a scripture that resonates with you, resonates with your work. And that's why we're doing it. We're only using the scripture again to give a voice to the word. Okay. And when we're feeling the scripture, again, we're moving it along. We're bringing these words to life. Does that make sense? Why can't I stop kicking rocks and turn leaves when I walk? They say I'm doing hoodoo. I don't know what that means. Why I can't stop kicking rocks? I don't know what that means. And turn leaves. What does that mean? And when I walk, they say I'm doing hoodoo. I don't understand what you're saying. You're gonna have to give me more context with that. Kicking rocks. What is going on there? I don't know what that means, baby. You're gonna have to give me more context with that. Okay. Both Mosaic and Solomonic traditions revolve around the sacred principle of word power. Again, conjure, the power of air. Because when you're using your mouth, what are you doing? You're using air magic, okay? To create a creative vibration of divine speech. From let there be light in Genesis to Jesus proclaiming Lazarus come forth, the Bible repeatedly affirms that creation is a sound made visible. So again, when you're picking up this Bible, you are becoming God. We're doing what God do. We're not thinking about the religion. Okay, so for those of you saying I don't like the Bible and the Christian, I understand. I'm just giving you another way to look at it of why we're using it. We're becoming God. We're doing what God do. We're not thinking about the religion. We're thinking about what these people doing, and we're doing what they're doing. Versus talking about what they're doing. We actually becoming these people. We actually becoming God. That's how our ancestors looked at it. Okay. Homophobia. Why can't I? Okay. It's a phobia. I have people say I'm working hoodoo. Okay, so you're doing this and you got a phobia or whatever. I don't know what to say about that. Okay, so that's how our ancestors looking at it. That's why you'll hear them say that's the greatest book that's ever been wrote, baby. Because when you find out how to use it, that's how you start looking at it. Because you're gonna turn into a god. You're gonna start co-creating with God. Okay. And that's why you'll hear them say, especially if they're a conjurer or a root worker, they're gonna let you know that because they see it now. They see it as a magical book, and you probably looking upside their head. What? It's the greatest book of all time. You don't see it because you're not seeing the esoteric mystery knowledge in it like they're seeing it. You got the preacher preaching it to you literally instead of looking at it from a perspective that'll give you power. Because if they give looking at a perspective that gave you power, you won't need them no more. That's why they telling you what to think and how to look at it in there. All she has to do is remember they only deemed it evil because they didn't want you to practice. Exactly. That's what I'm slowly realizing about the Bible now. Okay. And so they conjuring, they doing that, and they this is actually what these people is doing up in here. They're conjuring and all that stuff. They just calling it something else. And that's why when the Christians come try to comfort me, which they ain't tried to in a long time, but when they try to comfort me, I just tell them you doing it too. Okay, you just call it by another name. I don't care what name you slap on there. Y'all love renaming stuff and saying it ain't that. And that just like I told you, the man that tried to rename Ray Key to the Oneness Blessing, y'all doing the same thing. So just cut it out because before Christianity came in here, this was called a spiritual science and magic. Okay, and then y'all came in with y'all religion, try to make magic a religion. And then say you're not doing magic, but you're doing magic. Make it make sense. That's the craziness that you deal with sometimes when you deal with some of these religions. They want to restrict you, tell you what to think, how to do things. You got to be careful with them. That's what I'm slowly realizing, and they are using it on us. Yep, they're using it on us. Okay. Like that poor woman that stood up there in that church and that man told her she didn't have $2,000 and she wasn't following, listen to what he was saying and all that. It's just a whole bunch of raggedy stuff, just raggedy. Okay. I don't see why people sit up in there, you know. My mind, I can't wrap my mind around that. But you just got people that they gotta follow somebody. I get that too. They gotta follow somebody. They just gotta follow somebody. They are seeking attention from somebody, seeking attention, and they got to be validated through a person. And you get people like that just want to be followed. And if you get over here in hoodoo, that's not that. You're gonna be following them ancestors. You need to get your eyes off people, and that's your problem. People just love following people. You'll get that sometimes. They don't know how to begin. They don't know how to start. They don't know they don't know. They need somebody to lead them. There's no independent thinking at all. But Your whole life. You got a whole soul. So you responsible for it. Why you gonna give that over to somebody willingly like that? It's yours. It belongs to you. But you gonna willingly get it over like that because you don't want to sit down and figure out uh who you really are and what you really want to do. You want somebody to be telling you that. It's some people like that. They just don't have a mind of their own. And they call this codependency. They call these we have normalized codependency. No independent thinking. We have to have somebody doing something for us, leading us, telling us what to do. That is codependency. You'll see a lot of that stuff when you start doing healing work. Because I'm gonna get your eyes off me and get your eyes on you and your ancestors. That's where it needs to be. Okay? You don't, and it make no sense because you came in this world by yourself. And I don't think I have never seen any group coffins. Have you? Have you ever seen any group coffins where y'all just go in there together? They just put you in the ground together. It's your life, okay? The sheep with the shepherd. Just follow, follow, follow. But if you're gonna follow, if you're gonna have a spiritual lifestyle, you're gonna have to stop following people. And I even say that even when you have a godmother or a godfather and all that, you need to have good ancestral communication because people are flawed. They don't know everything. Even myself. That's why you got me following again my ancestors because I don't know everything. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. I'm not saying it's our fault. And some people, they just not doing the work. Only FEMA coffins made for more than one. Okay. And FEMA is the only one that's doing that. Okay. Hey, how you doing, Paris? Hello, TikTok family. Hello, YouTube family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just about the Psalms. You guys get another book. If you're in our community, you're gonna get another Psalm books. You already got the Secret Teachings of Psalms. I think you done got a few Psalms book. You're getting ready to get another one. But I think this one is more extensive with rituals in it. Okay. And I think there should be some rituals in his Bible magic books too. There might be some rituals in here too to get you, familiar with it and start looking at it a little bit more. Maybe your ancestors will lead you to do some of it. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. So again, we're looking at the practice. We are becoming the conjure people in the Bible. We're not worried about the religion there. We're doing what them people is doing. Okay. These are the biggest conjure folks. Again, we have made them archetypes now in conjure. Okay, that's how we see them. We see them as conjure folks and root workers up in there. We don't see them the way the Christians see them. We see them totally different. Because this is totally different from Christianity versus what they're telling you. This is not Christian. Okay, we putting power on that Bible. They sitting up there faking and jiving with. Okay, that's what we doing. The practitioner of the Bible magic learns to wield this law consciously, speaking scripture with faith, intention, and alignment with divine will. Transforms verses into vibrational commands. That's what it is. Becomes a conjure book now. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're making declarations, and we are conjuring with that book. That is what we're doing. When we got it up, when we're repeating the verse, we have become the God. Because when in magic, you are the God. You are the creator. You are the creator in your world of magic. So yes, now you become the God. You're co-creating with God. I'm not blaspheming because they said it in itself. Didn't it say in your book that ye are gods? Yep, the book of Psalms is a book of spells if you know how to use it right. Yep. Okay. When recited over candles, oils, and water or roots, the word becomes active spirit moving through matter. Okay, so when you start to repeating these words over your candles, your scriptures, your herbs and stuff, you're bringing it to life because your words have power, and you put that feeling in it, it moves it. That's why I tell people when you get over here, make sure you got good emotional regulation because you're going to need it. Okay. Make sure you can be able to focus on something. You can sit down for 15 to 20 minutes, up to 30 minutes to focus on your magic intention, not YouTube, not social media, nothing to focus on that. Because if you really want it to work, you'll get somewhere and sit down and focus on it. If you really want to learn hoodoo, you get somewhere and sit down and start listening. You'll know, you'll start having better discipline for yourself. You'll know that, hey, I'll do the social media 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm gonna get somewhere and sit down and read for an hour, and then I'm gonna go to my altar and I'm because the spirit see you. So you're not I'm telling you, them spirits see you ain't gonna make no headway until you got some discipline, some emotional regulation. I'm telling you right now. You're not gonna get far with that if you ain't got that going, because them spirits see you. You want a spirit to work with you, they gotta see that you are serious and that you are consistent. I would assume this include using more of our brains, right? Hemisphere. Yep. Emotional intelligence is a lack of nobody wants to do the work. Yes, ma'am. Okay. You have to have some emotional regulation. And that it really surprised me how some of these practitioners can get so triggered. Now they ready to put people in pots and stuff, or they want to experiment on people and see can they put stuff on them. Like, do use it on yourself. That's exactly what I'm gonna tell you. You know, use it on yourself. Don't be putting stuff on people. Do it to you, because if it'll fix you, use it to fix you. Use it to fix you to stop putting stuff on people to figure out what's wrong with you. I bet you won't do that. Anybody that's always ready to do something to themselves, I always tell them, do it to yourself. Fix yourself. Go to a practitioner and tell them to fix you, not nobody else. Fix you, because you got a problem want to control another person. Just because you're triggered, you're mad, something going on with you. You don't want to deal with that. And really, you need to get somewhere and sit down and go pray. Because if you ask your ancestors about it, most time they're going to tell you to get somewhere and sit down and go heal. Be quiet. You feel like that because you ain't healed. You raggedy right there. It's a sore spot. It hurt. Go heal it. Let us help you heal it. Get your spiritual baths crunk up. Do some healing rituals on yourself. Do a limpa, a eggs cleansing. Do a head washing on yourself. Do some journaling. That's what they gonna tell you. You won't be so quick to be trying to do something. You be doing something to yourself. Why I feel like that? Why I want to just put stuff on people all the time when they piss me off? Why? Ask yourself that. But you don't do that. Some of you don't do that. That's why I say this ain't no plaything. And you keep doing that, you ain't gonna do nothing but cross yourself up. That's all you doing. And so when I see them just how they trigger like that, I gotta ask, okay, what are you doing here? Why are you so triggered? Because people gonna say stuff, do stuff, ignore them, block them, pray for them. It didn't physically hurt you, did it? Okay, that's your ego hurt because you feel like how dare they did this or whatever. Okay, well you know people is flawed because they do stuff, and you ain't perfect. You done did some raggedy stuff too, so don't stop acting like they the only one around here doing some raggedy stuff. Okay, you know when you need to do some work on somebody, they just been outrageous. Just you done warned them, you done asked them not to stop, ask them and put a boundary up. Please don't do that. You know, surely it's a time to do it. But just every time somebody piss you off or you want to practice on somebody, no, you raggedy and you need to stop it. If that's what you're doing, that ain't how this go. That ain't the way our ancestors intended it to go. And I wouldn't put nobody on my table that's doing stuff like that. And you got people going out here doing that, hiring practitioners to put stuff on people just because. Or you got people out here practicing putting stuff on people just because. I wish it wasn't true, but it's true. And then everybody that think they curse ain't cursed. Is they crossing themselves up. They ain't cursed. A lot of them are cursed. They crossing themselves up. Okay, being cross with other people, just entertainment, entertaining lower thought forms. I don't think you're thinking about it. It's a mess. Some mess, just mess this, mess that. Ain't nothing going on. Just that you just entertaining all types of mess, and you think somebody got something on you. Now you crossing yourself up. You say you want this, but you instead of entertaining this thought. So your thoughts and what you're saying don't line up. You doing raggedy stuff, but you say you want this, but you're doing raggedy stuff. You entertaining raggedy stuff. Ain't nobody got nothing on you. You crossing yourself up. People paying for work like that is crazy. Yeah, that's true though. They doing the job, and there's some workers out there doing it. There's some workers out there doing it. I won't do it. I would not put your raggedy stuff on my table. I would tell you to get somewhere and go heal, or give you some work to do for you, to you, fix you. Okay, that's what I would be doing. I don't put them on my table. I don't care what you're talking about. I'm not doing that. Focus on you. Fix what's going on with you. A lot of people don't want to hear that. But if you're following your most elevated ancestors, your beloved ancestors, they're not gonna be working with you doing a whole bunch of raggedy stuff. They just ain't. You're gonna be working with another spirit, a demon. I don't know what you're gonna be working with, but they're not your most elevated ancestors. They're not gonna be doing that with you. Okay? And you can't, it's gonna be hard for them to trust you if you doing that, honey. I can't imagine the work you're gonna have to do to start working with your elevated ancestors after keep participating in mess like that. Hey Afro, I'm just being real with you. People ain't gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you. Okay? Hoodoo practitioners, for African American root workers, the Bible was not only a sacred text permitted during enslavement, yet within its pages they found familiar truths, the same laws of spirit, nature, and divine justice their ancestors had known for centuries. So they was looking at that stuff of what they answers. They looking for their ancestors. Just like I told you I do. When I look through stuff, I'm looking for ancestors. I'm following ancestors. The same thing they did with this Bible. They weren't even looking at the religion they was looking for their ancestors in it. Same thing. Same thing that I told you I'd be doing. When I be looking at stuff, I'd be looking for ancestors. I'm not looking at the religion. I'm looking at ancestors. That's what I'm looking at. And this is the same thing they was doing. Hoodoo practitioners learned that the Psalms operate as spells. The Gospels ain't nothing but a God spell. They doing spells up in there, and it had near to call it God spells, and you doing a God spell up in there. That's what that is. You doing spells every day with your gospels, okay? With your words, with your music. The Gospels as works of healing, and the prophets as manuals of divine justice. They prayed over herbs, oils, roots, while reciting verses, merging biblical faith with ancestral wisdom. They still following their ancestors. That's what they were looking up in there. Their ancestors' wisdom was up in there. It wasn't because of Christianity. Get that right. It wasn't because of that. It's because they understood the esoteric, mystical meaning that was going on in there, and then people was doing what their ancestors was doing. Okay, and now they call it a religion, but our ancestors, they saw it for what it truly was. Okay, and that's another reason why you will have them people, you will have some people being spied on in churches because some preachers couldn't preach certain stuff. They were being supervised. It was certain things in that Bible they could only talk about as well. So they couldn't preach it out loud like that in church as well because they were being supervised. Yeah, some of them being supervised. They only got a portion of the Bible to preach out of. Yeah. You better be talking about Jesus up in there. You better be talking about long suffering and going to heaven and just suffering. You better be talking about that in there. You better not be talking about that you a conjurer and you better not be talking about that's how much control they had in there. They monitored us. You better be yelling that. You better be teaching something like servitude, long suffering. That's what you better be teaching up in there. A lot of them was monitored as well. So they couldn't teach that like that because they was being looked at. Certain things in that Bible they couldn't talk about. You see that now with the preacher. If the preacher actually went over some of the things in that Bible, you probably wouldn't be up in there. They still have their little pet peeves, their little pet scriptures they want to stick to keep you brainwashed. A lot of them. They only, and a lot of them don't like going back to that Old Testament. To me, if you go back to the Old Testament, you'll realize that they're talking about voodoo. I'm just gonna say it. Sacrifices on the altar, same thing. Sounds like voodoo. Sounds like that's where they got it from. That's why you will hear me keep on saying how our ancestors go in there and synchronize that Catholicism with their religion, and their religion is older than Catholicism. So I have to look at the Catholics and ask them, even the Christians, where did y'all get that from? You had to get it from us because we're older than you. Our spiritual practice is older than you, and our ancestors saw themselves in there. Even though you telling them this is religion and all that stuff, so where did you get it from? And we know y'all don't create nothing on y'all own. You take it. You take it. Okay, so they saw themselves up in there. So again, you get a chance to look at it from a different perspective and not be focused on the religion and somebody telling you what to think, because that's what that is. They brainwashing you. That's an indoctrination. The, just a simple way of understanding. God had already told you what He said in that Bible. He don't need nobody to help Him tell Him what to do. He don't need no help doing what he or she gonna do. The Great Spirit don't need nobody help in doing nothing. They already wrote the Bible. They don't need you to. That's why He wrote it, so you don't got to say nothing. Let the folks read it, interpret it for themselves. Great Spirit don't need your help. As y'all say, you say the Great Spirit wrote it, right? Well, let us read it. We don't want to hear what you got to say. Okay? Yep, the same scriptures over and over again. Okay? You don't need nobody. You don't need to interpret it. And that's where the break comes in, because you're disconnecting us from our divine sovereignty. You want to make it seem like God can only talk through you, and we know that's a lie. Okay, we already know that's a lie, and they want it like that because it's the time that you start telling them that you talking to spirits or you talking to angels, you talking to gods, they're gonna say you talking to the devil. Why am I talking to the devil? And when you talk to God, you talking to God. But when I talk to God, I'm talking to the devil. Make it make sense. Okay, so that's why I said nobody need to interpret that Bible for you. Somebody giving you scriptures for work, see if that scripture resonates with the work that you're doing. You got to be able to feel it and comprehend it for yourself. Okay, even when you get over there, we're not going to go over the Bible with you, because you're going to sit down and you're going to pick it out for yourself. It has to resonate with you. Okay, and if we was to go over the Bible, I'm not going to tell you what it means. We're gonna have a discussion because I want to hear what it means to you. Because it's because it mean that for me don't mean like it mean if you're with somebody and something, and you may say this is what you saw, and then you ask them, the other person, what they say. They didn't see what you see, and y'all was looking at the same damn thing. But yet what they saw and what you saw is different. What is that telling you? Everybody's perspective is different. That's why you'll see me go over some of the material over there several times, because I don't know in your mind what's going to help you comprehend what I'm saying. I might say one little thing, and then you have that aha moment and stuff start coming together for you. Oh damn, I'm glad you said it like that. Oh my God, I get it now. I get it now, Miss Penny. I'm glad you went through this again. Or I'm glad we went through this book because it really helped me, bring things together. Everybody's different. And so you might say, Miss Penny, why we going over this again? Because I don't know who didn't get it. And now this book is talking about it from another perspective. So now I have to talk about it from this perspective. Maybe somebody will get it. Somebody need it. I'm not doing it for nothing. Okay, because I know we don't all think the same. Okay, so then you'll have me talking about a different subjects, maybe in a different way. Okay, now Solomonic magic inspired works of wisdom, mastery, protection. Together, they form the foundation of Bible conjure, where the practitioner channels divine law through word, ritual, and faith. Now like I said, we go over Solomonic magic there. We go through that very thoroughly. Uh, and again, you got some people too that go into hoodoo, and that's all they practice is Solomonic magic. Or they only thing they practice is, working with seals, sigils, and all that. It's not, whatever works for you. They'll go way into that. They will go to the high magic side because hoodoo has a lot of elements in it. You can approach it any way you want to. You can practice as folk magic. You can practice it as high magic, ceremonial magic. It all depends on you. Some people good at ceremonial magic. Some people good, working with high magic. Some people just say, "Hey, I like folk magic. I'm gonna keep it simple." Depends on you. You can make this any kind of way you want to. And if I'm talking over your head, I'm sorry because you guys know I'm nerdy. I'm sorry. Okay, but if you know anything about ceremonial magic is really practiced like in covens or like the Freemasons. They do a lot of ceremonial magic. That's why they got that lodge set up like that. Okay. You will see some Wiccans. They do a lot of ceremonial magic. Okay. It's going to be a little bit elaborate, more organized, and more people in it. Okay. Then you have some people. I think it's still ceremonial magic, but it's still people that practice high magic where they practice alone and they only work with like planetary spirits and archangels. Okay, they don't really they deal with uh big transitions and transformations. That's high magic. Okay, that's uh ongoing magic. That's more like alchemy of the mind. And more self transformation when you're looking at high magic. Now, low magic, what they call low magic, folk magic or whatever, it's more sympathetic magic. Okay, that's why I say your feelings and all that stuff got to be in there. But with high magic and ceremonial magic, is a lot of acting in there, a lot of channeling in there, a lot of embodiment in there. Like I say, and you can see little bits of it when we start doing conjure, because now we become the god. Okay, in our folk magic. So again, we cover a variety of different. I probably took some of y'all too fast, and nobody ever just talked about this in this context before. When we're looking at different sorts of magic and the elements in hoodoo, but you'll decide what works for you. Some people I've met people that do total high magic with hoodoo. They got a whole room. I mean, they do nothing but high magic, and some people like that because they didn't met an angel and they didn't contacted this angel. Now this angel is helping them with doing high magic. And so when they do practice any work, that angel is probably going to be in that work because they're working closely with their angels. You got some people like that alchemy of the mind. I love how that sounds. Yes. Because that's either way it go. When you pick up magic, I don't care what, your mind going to have to be right. You're going to have to be able to tap into that magical realm. You got to do it. You can't have no a split mind like that. You can't have no doubting mind. You have created a whole magical world that's gonna work. Why? Because everything is consciousness. You got to alchemy has to happen in your mind. That's why I got you doing shadow work. That's why I have you doing healing work, ancestor veneration, and working with angels. And I got you get you in the rituals because the rituals is gonna open that up. Okay. It's the people that told you you can't do it. And what rituals do is start programming the subconscious mind to start opening up that world for you. And so if your magic ain't working, you come to me, something ain't work. How consistent you are with your work? How consistent are you doing with your? That's the first thing I'm gonna ask you. And if you telling me you spotty, I'm like, that's the problem. You might tell me, Miss Penny, I've been doing it for 2 weeks. Keep doing it, because when those spirits see you tenacious like that, they see the tenacity and the perseverance and endurance in you like that, they gonna show up. They ain't got no choice. They got to. Okay. Welcome, love. Welcome, beloved. They got to. This is how this work. It don't work with no one-time thing, because this works through consistency, and you got to reprogram your mind. Remember that. You got to open it up and be able to reach into those higher realms. Give yourself permission to open it up. That's what you're doing. Remember, somebody told you that you're gonna go to hell, that this is bad and it's evil and all that. You got to move to all that stuff, and then the shadow work helps you tear it down, because you have to go into the darkness and bring out the light. You're gonna have to do that. It's doing ancestors work. You're doing healing work. You're moving out a lot of stuff goes on. But what helps it speed up the process is when you're being consistent at the rituals. If you're being consistent with working with your ancestors and setting up a table with the archangel or a saint, you have to be consistent. This ain't none of a fly by thing. When it's time to go to that altar, you need to drop everything and take your butt there. Seriously. And sit there and listen. And see, some of this, you say this is what, some of y'all say this is what you want, but when it's time to go and invest your time, you fall short. Okay. What's the question, KK? I'm getting ready to let y'all go. I'm not gonna keep you long. We covered a lot today. And of course, in our community, you're gonna get a lot of resources about Bible magic. And this is something that you can add to it. But I think I did a thorough cover over there. But who knows? Sometimes I say stuff, somewhere else I didn't say another place. So maybe you could, this will help you even more. What's the question, KK? And your magic may not look like everybody magic. If someone did a return to sender and they start seeing faces in the sky and other areas, what does it mean? I would do the return to sender again. I would keep doing that. And then how are you doing it? See, a lot of people, you think that you can do a return to sender spell, you can burn the spell and it just go back. You might have to do that for 7 days. You might have to do that for 3 days, depending on what if you keep seeing that, keep the work going on going. And then I would add a bath to it too. I would do a bath, anything to hyssop, rue, or something like that. What is the agrimony? I would be using things like that. I would put layer it. Because most times when we did work, our ancestors did work, we layered. We're not just going to burn a candle. We're going to keep this work going every day. We might fast part of the day while we're working with that candle. We might fast and pray and open up our mouth and tell things to move on out. But it needs to be consistent. Because if you are uh if you're not being consistent and it's not layered, you're probably going to have to do it again and do it ongoing. I know people telling you just burn this candle, whatever. It's work. Who do its work? We don't just burn a candle like that. It's ongoing. We're going to burn that candle. We're going to talk over that candle. We're going to conjure over that candle. We're going to keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on until we get a breakthrough. And then we get a breakthrough, then we'll slide back off of it. But this is work. It'll be ongoing work till you get results. Don't stop till you get results. Because you mean what you doing. You mean what you say. Don't stop. Layer it up with, if it ain't working, oh, okay, you think I'm playing? I'm finna layer it up with some baths. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be saying Psalms 91, Psalms 27, 23. I'm gonna be praying this thing up off of me. You got to get up off of me. I'm gonna be declaring and saying you got to stand on that. This is work. I know they showing you burn this candle and walk away. No. That's why when people start doing the work and they see it, it shocks them because nobody told them. And then when I get in there and tell you that and you start doing it and you see the results, you be like, what the? Yeah, what the? That's how it works. And is it really magic now? Because you had to do all that. You had to do that That's the results of you doing the work. That's what happens. But you're gonna have to put some energy into it to get it to move the way you want to. So you might have to do it, keep on doing it until you get a breakthrough. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That's why our ancestors, they kept on praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying until they got a break. They didn't get up till they got a breakthrough. Hoodoo the same way. You still got to use that same spiritual energy and power when you're trying to move something. Okay, don't stop. Keep it going. Okay, you think I'm playing? I'm gonna keep on going. I'm not gonna stop till I get a breakthrough. And the spirits see that some gonna move for you. And you put fasting on top of it, okay, it's gonna really move out of there for you. But you have to be a warrior in this. You can't be no punk over here in hoodoo. Okay, you gotta put on your big girl draws and baby put on your spiritual arm of God and let them things know. You gotta be tenacious up in here, like Muhammad Ali. You understand me? That's the kind of spirit you got to have if you're gonna be working hoodoo and conjure. This is not for punks. I'm not. I don't even say that like that for wimps. Hey, this is not for wimps. Let me put it like that. I burned my tarot. The spirits came for me and had to work it off. You burned my tarot cards. I burned my. Why would you do that? Spirits came for me. I don't even know what that is. Now see, now you making that sound spooky. Why are you burning the tarot cards? And this, when y'all say stuff like this tells me that you still got a lot of Christian concepts in there. You still got a lot of Christian concepts in there. And then a lot of people use a lot of fear mongering up here. Hexes, you've been hexed, a lot of fear mongering is still going on. Child with no profile image, go ahead, go on. Love is love. Something else. Love said, child with no profile image, go ahead. Oh no. Erica De Niro sent me over here. I am glad she did. Thank you. This information resonated with me so much. Even the Bible says, pray without ceasing. You got to, what Adam J said, pray without ceasing. You can't let up. You cannot let up. Okay. And them spirits see you, especially when you start calling on them angels like that. They see you like that. You got to be earnest with that. Okay. Can't be no wimp over there because you moving that stuff out. You mean for it to go. That's what you mean. And by all authority and all the spiritual helpers around you and by the power of the mighty ancestors, it's got to move. You got to talk like that. You understand me? Okay, you got to keep it on. Know what they telling you? Oh, burn this candle. No, you keep it going on until you get a breakthrough. Till you tap, something gonna move. You keep that tenacity going, it's gonna have to move. Okay, until you see a breakthrough. Till you blue in the face. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, you're gonna get a breakthrough. You're going to get a breakthrough if you stay consistent enough with it, if you stay intentional enough with it. I just start and keep adding stuff onto it because you keep playing with me because you're going to move. And I'm not going to move until you move. That's how I be. I ain't going to stop till I get some results. I don't care. I'm not stopping. And spirits, they move when they see you do that. And see, the more you do that, they know you serious. Your work start moving faster and faster because they see you serious. Pray without ceasing. Had to look that up. Yeah, pray without ceasing, baby. That's how you have to be. You have to declare it. Keep on declaring because you don't know what spiritual forces, what is trying to, and again, call on your ancestors, your guardian angel, um, the archangels. A lot of people work with Archangel Michael. They'll work with him to move it. He'll sure help you move it out. Okay. And make sure you keep your head covered. Uh, and you pray it down. Okay, you pray it, and don't stop. You're gonna see a breakthrough, I promise, if you keep it up. But people, what happens is people is giving you an impression that you just light a candle and walk away. It's no work with it. Now, honey, that's if you think that's hoodoo, then you are sadly mistaken. We work over here. You might have to have that going 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. I've known people had to work for 13 up to 21 days to get something done, depending on what it is. And then the whole time they're working in it, they're refining themselves, getting themselves more and more in alignment with the work. They may be adding on to it and working on themselves to get it moving. That's how it works, you guys. And be private. Everybody doesn't need to know what you're doing. Some people pray on prayers. Yeah, you need to be doing it in secret. You shouldn't be showing no work or nothing what's going on here. That nobody should know what you got going on. You can have a general discussion about it, but they should know that nobody should know specifically about the work that you're doing. You're tainting your work, and you're compromising it when you do that. Even when it's done, you really don't need to tell nobody that it's done. The only people that need to know that it worked is you and the other person that you work for. You did it for. Now, if they want to share that, they can, but really that work needs, because you're protecting the work when you do that. And every time somebody come up here and show their work, they didn't again, you got all these different minds on your work. And what's in people's minds? Thought forms and spirits. And so you're leaving yourself susceptible for your work to be attacked. And remember, you're using your mind to go into the astral realm. Everything is consciousness. Cover my head. Yep. What about my teenager? Should I tell her? What about a teenager? What should I tell her? What do you mean? What do you should tell her? You mean about hoodoo? Is that what you're asking me? Let me put this up. Is that what you're asking me? What did you should tell her about hoodoo? Is that you're trying to teach her that? Is that what I'm understanding? Let me put you on the charger. I mean, it's fine if you doing it. Y'all in the space together and you know what you're doing. But the only y'all two should know about it. Nobody should be going out talking about what somebody is doing. Mm-mm. That's what I'm saying. Don't go out and discuss it now. If you two know what y'all doing, y'all the only two need to know. Don't nobody else need to know what y'all doing. Damn. I'm sorry, TikTok. There we go. Trying to put you on the charge over here. But nobody should know what y'all got going on. Okay? If that's your work, she shouldn't be telling what my mama doing up in here and all this stuff. Nobody should be knowing that. Okay? And sometimes you can't help it. Some people will come in and you got candles burning. That's why our ancestors, they burn their candles on top of their petition, and some of the candles didn't have any writings on the front of it, so they didn't know what they were doing. So that's another way people hide their work too. But if they just seeing it, you're not telling them what you're doing. And sometimes you'll have people, just come in your house and you're doing work, but they don't know. And you don't discuss it either. As long as they ain't touching and bothering stuff and all that stuff, you'll be okay. But I would just try to protect your work at all costs. Don't be telling people what's going on. If you're not working with them or for them, don't tell them. It's none of their business. Because that can taint your work. Okay? It can really mess that up. Okay? Even the Bible say pray ceaselessly. So again, we have went over the Bible. We're looking at it the way our ancestors have always looked at this Bible. We're looking at it from uh, again with our hoodoo eyes and through the lens of our ancestors. We do not look at it Christian. And I know what people are telling you there is just false. Okay. The Bible, when viewed through the lens of esoteric understanding, reveals itself as a manual of divine magic, sacred book of symbols, laws, spirit command. Within it are teachings of Moses, magician, Solomon the sage, and Christ the alchemist, all masters of word, will, and spiritual authority. Okay, so we look at them totally different. And that man did never say them that none of these people said follow them. From what I've read and heard, Jesus never did tell them to worship me and make a religion of me. He never did say that. You got religions doing that, and now they got people following people. That's what that was put in there for, so people could mind control other people instead of following God. or spirit. And what you got now is people following and worship other people. It was to mind control people, not to give them link them back to the divine. It was to disconnect them from the divine. That's what religion is. That's how they're presenting it. And now you got the preachers up here telling people to give them $2,000 or to pray for them and all this kind of stuff. And this man is not doing what these folks do. These folks ain't doing that. Okay. Now you see it with our own eyes. I ain't got to make this stuff up. Okay. The spiritual worker, Bible magic, is not superstition. It is a sacred science. It is a science. Okay. It teaches that the divine dwells within that faith is the one and that the word is the spell. Through Mosaic and Solomonic wisdom, and the practitioner learns to align with God's will. This is all about alignment. That's why you'll have me when you get over there. I'm going to have you doing shadow work. And I know, well, a lot of you that's over there and you're thinking you can't get overwhelmed because we have a wealth of information. If you love information and you just your mind is so hungry all the time, you just want you just love it. That would be heaven over there for you because we just got so much information. We just and to do and it is overwhelming because you're saying, oh, where I should start. You should start also always start with ancestors, beloved. Start with ancestors and shadow work. Get that under your belt, spiritual communication, and then kind of start looking at other things. Let your ancestors kind of lead you on where they want you to start. If you've had your chart done with me, your astro chart, then you kind of got an indication what the work you need to do, and you just need to ask your ancestors from guidance on, you know, what step they want you to take first. Okay, but it's a lot of information over there, but I always start with, you're going to hear me say it over again. I don't care. You're going to see a lot of stuff and you're going to want to reach for it. But baby, don't reach for it first till you get your ancestral veneration together, till you start doing your shadow work, because none of it's going to work until you start getting alignment. And that's what ancestral veneration and shadow work does. It starts to get you in alignment with things, especially when you add the spiritual communication. You start to strengthen your psychic abilities when you start doing your divination and practicing spiritual communication. Those three things you need to have before we start reaching for things and doing things. Because again, we're following our ancestors because they know what kind of magic we're going to be good at, and they're going to help us and tell us what to do. You're going to be looking at it, and whatever your intuition is telling you to do, that's the ancestors telling you what to do. And if you come to me and say, well, Miss Pena, I feel like I need to do this and this and this, and I talked to my ancestors and I looked at this and I feel like I'm going to say, do it. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. Your ancestors just told you what to do when your intuition told you to pick that out, and that's them. Okay, so I got to get you to trusting and supporting you and trusting your intuition over where are you talking about all this knowledge at? It's over there on our Patreon platform, Spiritual Roots. You can find the link in my bio and the link tree here on TikTok. The link is in my bio here on my YouTube channel if that's something you're interested in. And I'm gonna have to slow down there because it's so much information. I know people are still trying to catch up. People are in different areas there. Uh, it is a lot of information. I don't expect you to get this right off the bat. It may take you a year to integrate hoodoo into your life. Now, anybody telling you they can give you teach you hoodoo over the weekend in 6 months, it's hoodoo is too big for that. I don't see if that's possible, and it's a way of life too. And it takes a little bit of community to help you because you need that support to help you to be confident in following your ancestors, following the spirit, something you can't see. And so I think that's where community comes in handy, especially when you got somebody or a mentor saying, you know helping you, empower you into trusting yourself and your intuition. Yes, it's fast moving. It's gonna take a minute. Okay, 'cause this is took taken away from you. So, and it has so many elements in it. Just with the root work alone, you're talking about the medicine part. That's the medicine part of hoodoo. the medicinal part. And then if you working with someone who, they got bad energy and root work is gonna turn in, it's gonna turn into something spiritual because you might have to call on some angels and God, but you're gonna do that probably anyway. But you might have to do some spirit work with the root work when you're working with the person. You might have to do some deliverance work or something like that. Okay. So you have to learn that, get that, you might do that for maybe 2 or 3 years, or maybe just stay over there. Or maybe you run into something where your ancestors got you this spirit is rolling up on you. Say like Azarla Frida is running up on you. You keep seeing Azarla Frida, Mama Wata, Yimiya. You just keep having these energy roll up on you, and maybe the ancestors send them to you. They might have you do some conjuring, start setting up a table, working with another spirit. I don't know when you start following your ancestors. I don't know what they got for you. That's why I got to get you over there talking to them and get you going and getting your rituals going so you can find out what they want for you. Okay. I've been doing it for 20 years. Okay. All right. So if you're interested in any of this, again, you're welcome to our if you're a person of color, let me say this. You have those our roots or whatever. Um Again, you're welcome to our community. We have variety of resources and everything is affordable. We have memberships as low as $5 if you just want to read, get all the resources we have. If you want to perfect ritual and work with your ancestors, uh, get over there. That membership is $10. If you're ready for conjure, like I said, I don't do your work before you get in conjure. Don't go over there raggedy, okay? Make sure you did your ancestor veneration. The conjure membership is $20, and then we have the know thyself. People don't know anything. They won't help with shadow work. They won't help with ancestry. They need it all. And so we have the know thyself membership is when you go to the our workshop. We have a workshop that's coming up this weekend. So we have a healing circle where we do a healing circle and focus on shadow work where we share, really, trying to regulate our emotions and get our mind in alignment and just purging all this heavy stuff out of our DNA. Okay. So if that's something that you're and that is $33, but you get everything with that. That's for people that don't know anything. They did no ancestor veneration. They don't know nothing about shadow work. They just don't know nothing. Okay. And so you'll get all the resources over there. Now the ritual is for those have been doing ancestral veneration, and it gives you more information on amplifying your communication with your ancestors. Okay. And it doesn't come with shadow work. I just assume that you're doing it on your own, but you will get shadow work resources to help you with your shadow work. Okay, but you won't get the lectures and all that that we do with the know thyself, but you will get resources to help you with your ongoing shadow work. You'll get those resources. How do you know when you can and should leave ritual and go to conjure? You'll know because you'll have other spirits trying to get at you, or you'll start dreaming about another spirit, or your ancestors may mention a spirit to you. Okay, and it is not going to be an angel. It's not going to be a saint. It'll probably be like it might be a lower, in voodoo. That's conjure. Now you jumping in the conjure when you go into voodoo, and when you go and start talking about the orishas. Now you're doing conjure. When you start messing with goetic spirits and elemental dominions like kings, because they're you got these kings that's over some of the elementals, and the goetic spirits, that's conjure. When you say, hey, I want to work with Ganesha, I don't want to do this, I want to work with Ganesh, or I want to work with Kali, that's conjure. Okay, walking with a whole different spirit, so you need to know how to approach that. That's conjure. And I don't take it lightly. Okay, time doing spiritual baths. I've been gathering moon water as the lead to a spiritual bath with it, but I'm nervous. My first time doing a spiritual bath. What's scary about it? You come from water. You come from water. You was born in water. Water is the first element on earth. You notice humans, we love being around water. Water is your first mother. So what's to be nervous about it? If you speaking over it and praying over it, what are you scared of? And again, you probably still got some religious trauma going on where you think you're gonna go to hell by doing the bath, or you think something finna come out and get you. What could possibly go wrong with the bath? Think about that. Are you overthinking that? Is somebody else belief system running in your head like that? What is to be afraid of? I mean, if you really think about it, all you gotta do is relax. I love water, as Shay Mama Water. I mean, you connecting with your most oldest ancestors when you work with water. But you can't get it wrong. What can you get? You can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong if you are intentional with it. What do you mean you can't get it wrong? You can't get it wrong. It's your magic, so how you gonna get it wrong? I do it wrong or not enough. I don't want to offend us. No, you can't get it. Your ancestors love you. You can never do nothing wrong with them. They're showing you, that's them telling you what to do. It's in your DNA. You think it's your ancestors talk to you through your intuition. That be them talking to you. It's already in your DNA. It's your magic, right? You can't get it wrong. You're doing it with your ancestors, and if you again, they're forgiving and loving. They know you're trying. You're perfected and get better at it as you go. But if you never start and you're not gonna trust yourself, you're gonna keep standing still and ain't gonna do nothing. You can't get it wrong. As long as you got intentions, you praying over it, and you calling on your most beloved, elevated ancestors, you can't get that wrong, baby. You can't get it wrong. Get that out your mind. The only thing you getting wrong right now is thinking that you're gonna get it wrong. That's what you getting wrong. The only thing you getting wrong right now is thinking something bad gonna happen to you, or you're doing something evil or whatever. That's what you getting wrong. But you're doing it right. You can't do it wrong, beloved. If your ancestors are leading you to do it, you can't get it wrong, baby. You can't. Indeed, just collecting water if I don't do it. You're right. Okay, you do it. If they're leading you to do it, trust that. You can't get it wrong. Stop listening to people and listen to your ancestors. Stop listening to people. These fear mongers and stuff. Stop listening to them. Okay. What good Bible verse to buy? This is my first time here. What's your website? Again, we have a Patreon platform where we have a spiritual, we have a hoodoo community over there called Spiritual Roots. I was scared to watch my heard cuss words. Why would you why would you hear cuss words? Again, too, what are we opening our minds up to? Are we opening our minds up to our most elevated ancestors? Are we being intentional and saying a prayer over the work before we even use it? Now, something like that, if I collected rainwater like that, I'm not going to use it right off the back. I'm going to sit it on the altar. I'm going to activate it and pray over it and put intentions on it before I even start using it. I'm going to consecrate that. Even though it's been sitting outside as rainwater, whatever, I'm going to sit it on that altar for a minute, probably burn a candle on it and pray on it and then use it. I'm going to put some ashe on it. Okay. Water responds to a sound. They've already showed you that the water will form different molecules according to sound. So you're going to need to talk to the water and set your intentions with it. It's alive. You're going to need to tell it what to do. Is that what you did? Did you do that? You see, you making it sound scary because now, because maybe you want that to happen, or you got these Christian concepts in your mind. So you feel if that's what you wanted to happen, you wanted something bad to happen when you wash your head with it, that's what's gonna happen. It's if you think that something bad gonna happen, that's what's gonna happen because your mind, again, you ain't got your mind together. That's why I say don't be doing this if you ain't got your mind together. You need to work on that first because I don't know what you calling up. So if you got fear and all that evil stuff in your mind, that's what you're gonna experience. That's what your mind is gonna attract. That's what your mind gonna and you'll hear me say that over and over again. Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Get your mind. You will hear other magical people. Get your mind right. Get your mind. You gonna constantly keep hearing that. So you think hoodoo is evil and you think something you already got that in your head, that's what you're gonna experience. You're creating that. You attracted that. Because your mind went right before you started. Stop picking up hoodoo and doing stuff without the guidance of your ancestors and without doing ancestor veneration and shadow work. Because that's what's gonna happen. And I know what they should. Don't pick this up if your mind, you ain't got no ancestor veneration. You don't know how to conjure. You don't know none of it. Stop picking it up because you don't know what you're doing. You don't understand the science of it. You're just doing it because somebody else doing it. You don't understand the science of it. Don't do that. I'm always telling like I'm not educated enough. Okay, what you think about Voodoo Village? I don't know what that is. Okay, don't pick this up because you're gonna do it and I'm gonna cross yourself up. And I don't like when people show y'all stuff because you don't know the spiritual science. And so you going in without that doubt and fear and all those spirits in your mind. Because believe me, you ain't gonna see you got them until you start doing shadow work. Y'all got all types of spirits and stuff in your mind that's hindering you, oppressive spirits. And then when you do it, these spirits attacking you because you didn't dispel them at your mind and your spirit before you picked it up. You got to deconstruct Christianity, all them spirits they gave you, them shameful, all them, you got to dispel it at your mind. And if you ain't did that, you're gonna probably cross yourself up. Okay. Now, if you thinking all that, get somewhere and sit down. Don't touch that. Get somewhere and sit down. Learn about your ancestors. Learn about ancestor veneration. Learn about the spiritual science first. Stop dibbling, dabbling and stuff if you don't understand that. And stop trying to learn from people. Sit yourself down somewhere. Your ancestors probably been telling you to get somewhere and sit down. You probably been telling, I want to learn. I want to learn. You probably been telling them that. That's probably why I'm coming down your timeline. And they probably told you, yeah, what we want to teach you. Get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Pick up that book and put your face in that book. Get off social media so much and we will teach you. But no, you want to follow people. I ain't never heard of it. Okay? We got to stop doing that. You don't nobody know more than your ancestors. You want to know about a spirit, you're going to have to sit down and listen to a spirit and stop being scared. And hoodoo is spiritual. So, and it's necromancy in here. I'm sorry, and it's sorcery in here. So you're gonna be talking to a spirit. Anytime you picking up water, a candle, a fire, you working with spirits. So I'm done with that. Okay, you do what you want with that. I'll look it up. Voodoo Village. I'll look it up. What is his name? Engine. Inkenjin. I'll look it up. Okay. So you go in there, and this what tells me when you go in, when you have this type of stuff, just let me know you haven't did any ancestor veneration, you haven't did any shadow work, because you have to deconstruct all that, pull out those old beliefs, and start building again, tapping into your higher self, your best self. Okay, so when I see you come in with that fear and all this stuff, that's why you need to do the ancestor veneration and shadow work. And I just wish people would come in here and show you stuff when you don't understand that this is a spiritual science that they're calling magic. Maybe we shouldn't be calling it magic either because it is a science. And once you start seeing the work you got to do to perform what you call so-called magic, you're gonna be looking at that like, is it though? Is it really magic though? Cause I had to get myself together. I done fast, I done prayed, I done got up at 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning to do this. Is this really magic? Or is it science? Which one is it? How I mean a Galera. Probably pronouncing that baby name wrong, but I got the Amina right. Hey Amina. Okay. So again, Do the ancestry veneration. Stop, stop trying to do hoodoo and you don't understand the science of it. And then you run back over there, just like what's they said. She washed her head and she started hearing cussing. Why are you hearing cussing? Anything, it should have cleared it up, and you should have felt some peace, depending on how you did that head washing. You probably did do it with some coconut milk. Probably need to put some coconut, wash your head with some coconut milk, because it gets rid of all the evil and calms down the head. Okay. Okay. Carletta said I felt that. I felt it after it. Okay. Indeed. I love that. Okay. I do have coconut. So if you got coconut milk or coconut water, that's a good thing to keep your head cool and dispel anything that's going on. Coconut is a really, really good for dispelling anything negative. Coconut trees, uh, coconut milk, and coconut water. Okay, so you probably want to do a head washing with that 2 or 3 days in a row. I don't know. But again, I don't advise you to do it. Just like that child picked up them tarot cards, and when the tarot cards told her the truth, she got mad and threw them away. Trip me out. I just got through reading an article over here. Then they're doing a lecture on one of these books, and in the book, it was a story. The preacher couldn't get nobody to come into his church. His church was empty. Nobody was coming in there. No one was coming in there. And then all of a sudden, this conjure man pops up and tell him, "Hey, you need some help to get some folks in here. Get some people in here. That's your problem. You need some help." So all right, the conjure man gave him a mojo bag to use. And before you know, the next Sundays, his church was full of people. Every weekend. I mean, he said this went on for a couple of years, I think he said. Until he got mad. He thought it was evil, because in his mind, he thought it was evil, even though it was bringing members into his church. He got rid of it, and then he had no more members in there. See how that folks is? I mean, really, you needed to have conjure in the church. That was the problem. You didn't have no conjure in the church. See how they did? His church didn't have no power until the conjure man came and gave him the mojo bag. This should let us, some of our ancestors know, well, what is really Christianity? Because if it ain't doing this, I got to use my ancestors' magic for Christianity to work. His Christianity didn't work, because he had been praying to God for it to work. But what happened? A country man came to him and gave him a mojo bag, and then it worked. The prayer to God worked because the country man showed up. But it wasn't the way you looked. You wanted God to look the way the colonizer showed it to you. So you got mad and threw away the mojo bag, and now you back at square one, because you didn't want to use the magic of your ancestors. But that should have told him something. If calling on God using the Christian way wasn't working, then there wasn't no power in it. It didn't start working to somebody, one of your ancestors come up, make a mojo bag for you, give it to you, and now you got now the Christianity working. And I'm firm to believe that you can't tell me nothing. That you ain't gonna be able to tell me otherwise. That the church ain't got no power because it took hoodoo out of it. That's why it's raggedy now, because it ain't got no power in there. Hoodoo ain't in there. I firmly believe that. Ain't nothing else you can change that made me think that. When hoodoo was in there, it was power in that church. We gave power to Christianity with hoodoo. You can go, and if you read a lot of these books that we're going through, you're going to see that. Okay? So God is, yeah, raggedy. It is raggedy, honey. Nobody want that. Okay? And then when the conjure man came and gave him the mojo bag, that man said his church stayed full. It made him mad that the mojo bag worked and that his prayers to God didn't work. But then when you destroyed the mojo bag, the members stopped coming. Ain't that something? So how your God working with you? The country man just showed you how to tap into that God frequency, but you didn't want that. And you have a lot of preachers. There have been a lot of preachers that go to country folks to help them with their ministry. Yeah, that was a thing. Okay, hoodoo works. That what white folks lied to us about it. I gave up Christianity 10 years ago for witchcraft. Okay, and I don't even like the word witchcraft because they made women try to use that as a derogatory term for women's spiritual practices and made that look ugly. And it's supposed to be for wise women, and then men took that and we gonna call it witchcraft what you do it, but when we do it, we gonna call it miracles. We're gonna call it miracles. We're gonna be doing God's work. But when you do it, we're gonna call it witchcraft, and we're gonna hang you and get rid of you if we catch you doing it. We're gonna make it sound ugly, and if we catch you doing it, we're gonna unalive you. We're gonna torture you and take everything from you. Now I can't stand to hear the name because they done made it so ugly, but it was something so beautiful they done made it ugly. Okay, I don't even know, baby. But that was our word. That was our word for our wisdom and our craft and our knowledge. But honey, they done took that word and just made it ugly. And I guess we just gonna have to own it back. And I can't help but cringe every time I hear it because they done threw it in our face so much. Women, every time we start doing something with herbs and stuff like that, they want to call it witchcraft. And you gotta remember, a lot of our great mothers was destroyed because of this. I mean, they wiped out. You go back and look at that Bible, honey, because that witch of Endor was scared to talk to that King Saul. She said, "You come here tricking me because you just outlawed us, and you gonna come up in here and ask me that? You who that was getting rid of up in there? So you don't know what you're looking at when you're looking at that story, okay? Why did God never once help when someone put a hex on me, no matter how much I prayed? What you doing? What work did you do? What did you do?" And sometimes we think somebody put a hex on us, and it be us crossing ourselves up with the things that we do. I just heard a worker talking about that. She said 100 people can come to me and say they got a hex on them, and only 30 people will have a hex on them. So people that think they got a hex on them ain't got a hex on them. Just like she said that this young lady was talking about, she thought somebody had a hex on her, but the more she started observing that girl was crossing herself up. So you can't do raggedy stuff and think your life just gonna be smooth. How are you contributing? I would sit down and think about that. Is it really a hex though? Because a lot of people be crossing themselves up, and I've had to do readings for people like that and get them all types of work to do to get their energy together. But they think somebody hexing them, and then when I show it to them, ain't nobody hexing you. You crossing yourself up. You doing raggedy stuff, and you praying for God to do good stuff to you, but like you raggedy. But you want God to do good stuff for you, but you don't want to fix this stuff. But you want all this good stuff to happen to you, but you don't want to do any internal work to try to raise your vibration so you can have better experiences. So really look at, do you really got a hex on you? Some of these people don't. And they be crossing themselves up, they be saying negative stuff, they be sleeping with husbands, sleeping with wives, sleeping with Ray down the corner don't mean you're no good. In toxic relationships, poor boundaries, poor self care, all this be going on. You think somebody got a hex on you, and now it's you. It's you in your regular life that you don't want to fix. Sometimes it be that. Babe, I got away from a narcissist, her family in Cuban, deep in black magic. Okay. Therefore, I would continue to keep some work going on. I would definitely be bathing in some coconut milk. That'll be added to my tub. I'll definitely be doing that, and I will be continually doing some type of return to sender work. I'll keep that up. I'll probably keep that up for probably 21 days. I'll keep burning on that until I get a breakthrough. I would even work with the Archangel Michael. Okay, I'll be working with some defensive spirits with that. And you can also work with Saint Cyprian. Saint Cyprian is another saint that you can work with that'll move that out your life. Saint Cyprian remove curses. So I'll be working with him to remove that. Okay. I hope that helped you. But you can definitely work with Saint Cyprian. He'll show you how to get that up off you or remove it from you. Okay. Okay. So try Saint Cyprian. Go do some research on him and set up a table with Saint Cyprian. He should be able to move it from you. Either Archangel Michael can move it, or you can work with Saint Cyprian. Okay. If you ain't got nothing that going in your life, you sure that's black magic. That's who I'll be reaching out to, and I will keep that work ongoing. I won't stop until I feel that it's gone, or I get some type of confirmation that it's gone. Okay, that's what I would do. I wouldn't stop. I keep it up because if it depend on how skilled they are. But once you call in a spirit like Michael or Saint Cyprian, they'll clear it out for you. Okay, so you don't have to do it by yourself. You got the help of a spirit. Okay. All right. I've kept you guys for a little while now. I hope you enjoyed this discussion that we had, Hoodoo Bible Magic. I know probably for the community over there, this gave you more insight, but you're going to get plenty of lectures over there. I think we got 3 or 4 books over there that we're dropping on Bible Magic, and all of them look a little bit different, but all of them come with lectures. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's what we're covering right now, presently. Before we go into next month, we're covering a lot of stuff. Uh, Again, looking at hoodoo. Okay, and I'll look at the Voodoo Village up. I'll look that up. Okay, and if you're interested in an astro reading, again, I break your chart down in hoodoo style, letting you know what type of spiritual allies, ancestral work, shadow work, uh, elemental magic that that's in your chart that you can work with. Those readings are $15. You can DM me your time and your email address here on TikTok, and I will get you out an invoice and get started on your chart. Now, let me put my email address in here. Now, for those of you that's on YouTube, I'm going to put my email address in there. And if you want to reach out to me for an astro reading, you can do so. I'm going to need your time, your date, your place of birth. If you reach out to me, and then I'll get you out an invoice. And when that's completed, I'll get started on it. If you're interested in my tarot readings, they are $35. Just email me your email address or whatever. Well, or if you email me, I'll get you out an invoice and we'll set up a time. When you go back live, I want to hear what you say. Name, date, time, place of birth. That is correct. Okay. Uh, I'm probably going to come here now. Obia, we were supposed to do remember you guys, I had it scheduled. We were supposed to have a discussion about Obia. We had a special guest and he was supposed to talk about Obia because he's did extensive research on Obia, and I think he has access to maybe resources I don't. And so we were going to get his feedback on Obia. So hopefully I'll be able to reschedule that. I got so much going on because can I do that tomorrow? Maybe I can do it. I don't know if I'll be able to do it tomorrow uh with him. So we're gonna have to reschedule that and see can we talk about Obia. But you definitely gonna be getting this book that I found in my electronic bookshelf. I didn't even know the book was there. And now I gotta go through this book and see did I read it and forget about it because I read a lot of books. And now I go from one book to another book and read them and I just get nerdy like that, you guys. My mind just be hungry. And I'd be like, what about this? And then I dive into another book and forget about the other book. So I have to go through it and see if I've read it, and then I'll come here. We'll do a book review on it. But you're definitely going to be getting it in our community. You'll be getting a copy of that book. Okay, you guys, love you guys. Thank you for being here, and I hope to hear from you guys and see you at our next live stream. Bring your questions, your comments, or anything you want to share, and I will look up what is it called? Voodoo Village. Okay. All right, you guys take care.